Do it.
Hello, YouTube. This is Dark Tower Palaver. Welcome to Roundtable 123 here for our live stream. If you're watching this for the first time, we're a podcast, and we've been doing YouTube for a number of years now to live stream our show, so we have people in the live chat and stuff. But yeah, that's basically what you're going to be seeing with this video here is a recording of our podcast. So Roundtable number 123. And yeah, it's going to be some fun stuff to cover. It's been a minute too since we've recorded. We did a couple back to back, so on the same day. So that was interesting. Let's go ahead. It's a couple minutes early. It looks like the numbers are popping here and there a little bit. I don't know if anybody else is in the chat with us with Peter. The other thing that I've thought about recently, because we've talked about doing a trivia contest on our year-end bash, and I do think you're going to have to be the judge on that in terms of the chat, because I think one thing we have noticed is that the chats are a little bit different for you and I. Yeah, there's times you're seeing stuff before me, and there's even been times you've seen stuff I'm not seeing. Yeah, so I think you'll ultimately be the judge of who came in first with the answers when we get to that scorekeeping for that trivia contest. Okay. And we're halfway there. Year's half over now, so we're getting close to the year-end bash. So, that'll be a lot of fun. So
we got Josh and Mike in the chat so far saying hi.
Hello, Josh. Hello, Mike. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's let's maybe hit the intro and jump right in.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own Palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are content, one from many. Let the Palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's magnum opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for Roundtable number 123. We've been, I guess, if you're on the podcast side alone, you may not have seen a whole lot of difference, because but we ended up, for the live side, we ended up doing 2 episodes at the same time on the same day, and then basically had them post on the podcast side at the normal time. So on the podcast side, it may not feel like a whole lot, but on the live stream side, it's been damn near a month.
Yeah, just about.
Like just shy of a month since we've actually been here recording live. So definitely glad to be back. Let's go ahead and jump into the intro, and then we'll hit the calendar, and then jump right into the roundtable as it normally would be. Yeah. First of all, I want to warn you about spoilers. On roundtables, we do tend to spoil freely, definitely of the Dark Tower series, but there will also be spoilers for other things. I know, for instance, there's going to be some Shining talk, as well as there's a couple Stephen King adaptations that might get ruined in terms of spoiler-wise. Not ruined, because spoiling doesn't ruin necessarily, but there is a couple articles we're covering that talk about some very spoilery things about a couple adaptations.
Do you want to go ahead and hit the spoiler warning?
No, I mean, that's more for the book club.
That's for the book club, but give the roundtable people a taste of the spoilers.
I mean, we did get if you're not listening to the book clubs, I know some people save them for when they're reading and stuff, but I did create a new sound here. It's a warning for our spoiler section on the book club series.
At the end of the episode.
And Peter just wants to hear it again.
I do just want to hear it. It's great.
Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead. Warning, spoilers ahead.
I suppose we could do that on a roundtable when we talk about like books, like dives in, which we actually have to do. There's 2 books from 2021 that we still haven't really done a deep dive discussion on, because we
Billy Summers.
Because we wanted to give both of them room to breathe for people. But I think that now that we're into 2022, halfway in, it's probably perfect time to talk about those at some point, maybe at the tail end of this year. But yes, with spoilers. We will spoil freely of the Dark Tower series. So if you haven't finished all the books, stick to our book club episodes. In those episodes, 95% of those, 99% probably of those episodes are spoiler free. Just the very end and that loud sound effect I just created not too long ago will play before spoilers are discussed. So those episodes are safe. These ones are not though. So if you go forward any further, the spoilers are your fault if you get them at this point. Next up, if you want to find us, you can find us on Apple Podcasting. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. You can find us on any podcasting service. If you could subscribe, rate, and review us on any of those, we'd appreciate that. It helps the show be found by more people, I suppose, and grow our extended content. Then if you want to find the show notes, you can do that at darktowerpalaver.com. In that, I'll have everything that we cover in this episode posted out there. So if you're like in the chat, or in the live chat here on YouTube, you guys could see things like on the screen the same as Peter can. But, if you're listening on the podcast, you may not be able to see. So on that, if you want to find like the articles we're covering or any of the pictures or whatever, check that over at darktowerpalaver.com. Find our show notes there. Then if you want to support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. That's just a way to support us and be part of our Discord server, as well as we're a little bit behind on Hangouts right now, but as well as our monthly Hangouts. Those are fun little things. And if you want to contact us, Peter can let you know how to do that.
Best way to reach us is through email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. And then we stream our shows here on YouTube. It's youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, but most importantly, ring the bell so you know when we're going live. You get a notification when we go live. Also, when we drop exclusive content to YouTube, which we have been doing.
Yeah, if they drop a damn Salem's Lot trailer,
we've been waiting.
We'd have a reaction to it.
We were so expecting it with Black Phone.
I was expecting it with Firestarter, and then when that didn't happen, I'm like, well, it has to be with Black Phone then.
Nothing.
And absolutely not. So, very, that's kind of a bummer. So,
yeah.
And the other thing I guess is I see a lot on YouTube is people asking for people to click the like. I don't know. You know if that's important or not.
That's what I said.
Did you say like?
Like the videos and then subscribe and ring the bell.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
I keep hearing people say that. I'm like, I don't know what that means. But.
Liking it gives it more bumps, and therefore it goes in the algorithm and it gets more show from YouTube. We'll put stuff that has a lot of likes up front.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I'm minimally invested in YouTube. Like I get on there
I've dabbled
occasionally.
a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Nothing too heavy. But sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Go ahead. So our social media is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. Our Twitter is @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then Instagram is darktowerpalaver, all one word. And then our merchandise is still available on TeePublic. It's teepublic.com/user/darktowerpalaver. You got two different options. You got the classic, which is Tad's what he's wearing, Dark Tower Palaver with the logo. And then you got mine, which is the truth. #Tad is terrible with the logo as
the slanderous one.
And like I've said before, there's lots of different things that you can get. T-shirts, stickers, buttons, posters. There's hoodies, tank tops, all that kind of stuff on there. Kids stuff, too, so you can dress your kids in our merchandise as well.
Yeah, I think that what we need to do is get some kind of Randall Flag design so people can get onesies, little Randall Flag onesies for their kids. That would be the best thing to do.
Just do RF Chew Toy. Because he's a monster and he eats babies.
I don't know about that.
He is.
Brings people back from the dead. Where Roland then goes and slaughters the whole town. That kind of stuff.
Eats people in Idaho.
Oh, Bobby Tyler deserved it. He called it on himself.
Sure. Anyone's done anything enough to deserve to be eaten alive.
Indeed. Indeed. So yeah, we're here today on the 2nd of July for Roundtable 123. We have 124 coming in a fortnight. In that episode, we're bouncing over to the calendar, just giving you guys a heads up. On that next episode that we're going to do in a fortnight from now, we're going to be covering our open challenge, which is ranking the modern Stephen King adaptations, which is basically every film that came from the year 2000 on. So everything that's in this century. So that we'll be covering that one next episode. So if you want to be part of that discussion, send those emails in. And then on the 30th, July is one of our months where we end up having 3 episodes. We will be back on the 30th for Book Club Part 17 for The Wastelands. So we're fast approaching Lud. Yeah. We'll probably be reaching the bridge here in the next episode.
Chad's favorite part, because then he gets to talk about how he wanted to chuck Oi off.
Oh, that's always taken so much out of context.
Just takes Oi and
just yeet him into the river.
Yep. Off the bridge.
Hey, I didn't know that he was that he was going to be significant. I didn't even know if he would last that long, to be honest. So that's what I figured. It's like
that's why you just were hoping that someone would just yeet him off.
I wasn't hoping. I was just
How do you use for using the word yeet?
If it comes down to like the rest of the quartet dying or dropping the little fella there, then that's a no-brainer to me. I mean, again, at the time I read it the first time. Now I would obviously have a much different opinion. Like Oi and Roland, that's all you need to go on with the journey. As we know, that's all that it ends up with anyway. So what's the point with anybody else, right? They're just...
Josh is saying he's speaking of Flag. I'm finally catching up on Amazon's The Stand.
Was that? No, that was Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus The Stand.
Yeah, that was on Paramount. Or they
it
originally
could be Amazon does premium channels.
Yeah,
there,
and they do that. But yeah, let's not give Amazon too much credit there.
That's true, because Amazon was the ones
Those
that
dirty bastards that
made a pilot for Dark Tower, and we will never see it.
We'll never see. Yeah, unfortunately, you'll have to let us know what you think, Josh. We had some mixed feelings on it. There's some elements of it that are really, really good. There's other elements that aren't all that great. So. Definitely interesting to see what people think of it. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. There is a fun little thing that we're starting off with here. It is so Stephen King had a tweet, and I actually grabbed this rather than pulling it from Twitter. I grabbed an article that Nick Venable wrote from Cinema Blend, just because it actually recaps some stuff and has some fun little speculations and stuff. And this came on June 15th, 2022. And the article is titled "Stephen King reveals early criticism that he got that's always stuck with him." So kind of an interesting little thing here. And yeah, so it starts off here. It says, as one of the most best-selling authors of all time, Stephen King has no doubt heard and seen the entire gamut of critical opinions regarding his work, from the highest glowing praises to the lowest dirty digs. Which is definitely true. I remember one interview with King where he was on one of the late night shows, and somebody asked something about his critics. They asked about his critics, and he said, "It's all right. I've outlived most of them." That was actually probably in the last 5 or 6 years or so. And that always cracked me up because it's true. When he first came out, most of the literary critics at the time probably would have been older people. So yeah, when he was a young man, they were old men, and yes, he's mostly outlived him. But I don't know. That's one that's always stuck with me because it just sounds so Kingian to say
that is such a King thing to say too.
Yeah, exactly. And it says one can assume that at that level of fame and success he's amassed, it makes a heck of a lot easier to dismiss the negative comments with sales charts and his bank account serving as easy proof of his gargantuan fan base. But that doesn't mean the author is completely invulnerable to chiding remarks, and he's long kept at least one naysayer's viewpoint embedded in his memory banks. And it says fellow best-selling author Alfera Burke, whose novel Find Me was published in January, tweeted an anecdote about overhearing someone making a dismissive comment about her at Thriller Fest 17 without realizing it was in Roman numerals. I had to calculate it out there without realizing that she was nearby and wearing a mask. So she tweeted that, and the King actually retweeted her, replying with a similar experience that he had. And this is the tweet that King. Basically, this is his words straight from Twitter. He says, early in my career, I spotted a woman reading Carrie on an airplane. I made the mistake of asking her if she liked it, and she thought it over and gave me her 2-word critique. Shitty read. Oh. Yeah, that hurts.
That hurt. Carrie's so good.
Yeah, it really is. It says, now to be fair, King wasn't clear about whether the Carrie reader recognized him as being the book's author or not, and one might suspect that she didn't, given that we live in an age where social media has destroyed any semblance of manners and grace, and where airplane behavior has become all the more extreme. But this is presumably long before Facebook and Twitter arrived, since Stephen King's career has lasted for nearly 50 years, at this point with Carrie having been published in 1974. Says it's possible also, depends on whether or not the woman looked at the author's picture on the book jacket or the rear cover if it was a paperback. I like to think that right after she called it a shitty read, her eyes glanced over the picture and she slowly grew more and more mortified as she realized what she had done. Or alternatively, that the woman is actually a best-selling author of her own right with whom King didn't recognize. And then he says, Mary Shelley, I presume. He says, and then he says in parentheses, okay, I get it. She died 50 years before the Wright brothers brought flight into the mainstream, but still. And he says, I'd certainly like to know if the airplane critic went on to read more of King's works and what she thought of it. Did she enjoy Brian De Palma's 1976 adaptation more than the book? Did she think Cujo was too lighthearted? Then in parentheses, King has fixed that. Has a fix for that, if so. Hashtag way too soon there. Killing Tads is something that I could never get behind. Or the Pet Cemetery could have a more kid friend or have more kids being destroyed by Mack truck. What else is what else is happening in this woman's headspace? So that's just some of the questions that he asked there, and it's definitely funny, and it's interesting that like something like that would stick with King, because as you mentioned earlier in the article there, King's obviously gone on to some pretty massive success. I believe his I don't know whether his wealth is actually maintained at that, but I know he's made over hundreds of millions of dollars over his career. Obviously, he's one of the biggest names. I mean, later in this episode, we're going to talk about some people that have been inspired by him that are massive creators themselves now. He's just kind of a cultural institution. So it's kind of crazy that he would hold on to something for potentially decades.
Especially someone who wasn't really like a critic, just a random stranger on a plane.
Yeah, random person.
Do you think that's a kind of a watershed moment? I just reread 11/22/63. That woman is the one who influenced King to make Pet Cemetery darker, to kill Tad instead of letting him survive in Cujo.
Yeah.
To do it and to do the Shining and everything like that. It's all because of her. If she had been like, wow, this is really good, he's like, wow, actually.
Then he becomes this like happier author.
And everything has a happy ending. The characters don't constantly get shit on and everything.
Jake,
the Dark Tower doesn't exist at all.
Jake doesn't have a very as shitty a life as he does now.
Jake doesn't die once.
Let alone 3 times.
Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. But in one of the strangest things I've ever seen on the internet, this has a second part to it.
Go on.
So the critical woman from King's past is identified.
No way.
On Twitter, yes, on June 13th. And I know the article I just read came from the 15th, and this tweet actually comes days earlier, because ultimately King's tweet was earlier, so this is all lines up. I just grabbed the article because I like some of the questions the guy asked, because it was all the same stuff that went through my head when I first saw that tweet, where I'm just like, you wonder about that, where you're just like, this one lady had such a mark on a guy like this, like what happened? But yes, on the 13th, by some insane miracle, the woman was identified, and not only that, but she's tangentially connected to the Stephen King podcast universe.
No way.
Yes, and I'll put it up on the screen here. The Losers Club podcast responded to King's tweet saying, "It's a small world, Steve, or Steven. That woman is the mother of our singer-songwriter who wrote our theme song, and she tells us that she's a fan."
Wow.
It's just the nuttiest shit you've ever heard. Like, the fact that this all happened, but then to fast forward however many decades now, and there's Stephen King podcasts, and the son of this lady, makes the music for one of these podcasts.
Jeez, that's
just
crazy.
one of the most insane things. But that's not all.
Wait, there's more?
Yes, let's Billy Mays this shit. She then responds in the thing herself. And she says, she responds by a tweet saying, "I'm truly a fan, and I apologize to Mr. King for following the advice of my mentor who told me when traveling alone, read a scary book, and it repels invaders. Sorry, at Stephen King. I was hoping you had forgotten about that incident." Which, imagine being a fan and just know it, and then finding out all these years later that he actually held on to that remark you made. So yeah, that's crazy. But then also down below from that, someone asks if at the time that she made the comment, did she realize who she was talking to? And she responded, says, "No, I didn't look at his face, but he was wearing amazing boots, as I recall. Did not look at him until we were disembarking. Then recognized him later from an essay my son was writing about him. No one else ever tried to pick me up on an airplane after that." So, so maybe the scary book things help her. But yeah, so then on her side, it's even crazier. So then decades later, who knows how much longer later, her kid, which will go on to then write the Losers Club intro, was doing a report on Stephen King. And then she saw that. She saw him when she was disembarking. Then suddenly those wires finally touched her mind. She realized, like, oh, shit.
That was him.
I said that to the author of the book. So, but she's very apologetic. I don't know.
That is so crazy.
This is just the funniest shit, like, to me. It's like, if this was written in a movie, nobody would ever believe
that couldn't
like
happen.
the fact that she would even come out of the woodwork to be found at all is beyond the pale, let alone the Losers Club, which is a podcast in the Stephen King universe, and also one of the few podcasts that have been lucky enough to have Stephen King on their show. So they're even friendly with him. He hasn't responded to any of this, so we don't know what King's response to it all is, but very, very crazy stuff that was all sparked off by King giving some remembrance.
That's just crazy.
As he was commiserating with another author, where it's it kind of sucks. Sometimes it happens, and then he tells his story, and then here we are, and we get this whole freaking crazy story and tale. I don't know, just fun stuff. I don't know. Yeah, what am I missing in the chat here?
Cody says, "Holy crap." Josh liked your LOL. Let's Billy Mays this shit.
Yeah. I always loved Billy Mays back in the day. I mean, I don't know if it was the level of cocaine he was doing or what, but he was always entertaining. That's for sure.
Cody says, "Let's take a moment to thank that lady that inspired Frank Darabont ending to The Mist."
Maybe if she would have had a more brutal comment for him, maybe he would have come up with the Darabont ending, and Darabont wouldn't have. Maybe maybe King would have come up with that himself.
Well,
so.
no, he had a happy ending. Like a kind of
well,
like an open ending.
It was an ambiguous ending. There was like a sliver of hope, but I wouldn't go so far as to call that hopeful.
It was better than King's is hopeful compared to Darabont's. Let's put it that way.
Although here's the debate though. Okay, hopeful for Mr. Drayton, but for the rest of the world, Darabont's is more hopeful because it shows that it's under control and stuff. Where King leaves the book, we don't know how far the mist reaches, and when that last period of that book or that novella happens, you don't know. Like that could be a worldwide catastrophic phenomenon.
It's a very Romero zombie flick.
Yeah, it feels very
ending. Like,
this could
no, we escaped the mall, but
yeah, like you may be getting a radio transmission from a nearby city, so maybe there's some other survivors. But it's not like, hey...
It's not like, click up, there's a cure for the zombie outbreak.
Exactly. So I guess it depends on who you're asking, if you're asking Mr. Drayton or if you're asking the rest of the world, which one is more hopeful. But, I don't know. Because I do think, Darabont's, though, of course, is like, from the readers/watchers perspective, is one of the most devastating things. And that's actually a great segue. So next, I have two lists, but they're both going to be minor lists because they're not necessarily focused on King, but they have King entries.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is only focus on the King entries. So let's go ahead and go to this next one here, and it is 10 best horror movie endings. And it's ranked. So top 10 horror movie endings of all time. This is by Scott Allen from CBR. This is on June 18th, 2022. He says there are a number of horror movies that have been unforgettable due to their shocking endings, whether it's because of a surprising twist ending or the stunning return of the presumed dead killer. These horror movies continue to stand the test of time thanks to their fantastic endings that drop more than a few jaws to the floor, which we all know. There's a bunch of them. I mean, and I didn't take the list of all of them, but I'll say like Night of the Living Dead is on there as one that, has a shocking ending. Friday, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, both. The killer comes when you think the killer's been dealt with. Freddy comes out of the mirror and pulls the mom through. Jason comes out of the water and pulls or grabs her. He doesn't really pull her into the water. And then in the second movie, you find out it's all a dream, but still, all that kind of stuff. Those
the original ending when it came out, you're like, oh my god,
yeah, exactly.
There he is.
Yeah, exactly. Those are some of the other ones. If you want to get the whole list, go on over to darktowerpalaver.com, grab the show notes, read it up. But I'm only going to highlight the Stephen King ones. And number 9 is Carrie. Shocking jump scare ending. Teases an attack from beyond the grave. This is one of Stephen King's adaptations that didn't need a reboot. Was 1976's Carrie. The hit adaptation followed the titular high school girl. She began to develop telekinetic abilities. After dealing with the paranoid delusions of her overly religious mother and the harsh bullies at school, Carrie finally snapped. Carrie finally snapped, which is true, and that's, I don't know. Do you cheer for Carrie? I was thinking about that when I was putting all this together. I was like, because like me, I do, but I'm like, I wonder if it's just because I'm me. I'm like, so let me ask Peter
to murder everyone.
Like in general, like at the end, I'm cheering for Carrie. Like I'm like,
no. At that point, it's, oh god, what a tragedy, like that kind of thing. I'm not rooting, for Carrie at that.
What about everyone in the chat? What is your guys' rooting interest in the Carrie movie?
I mean, because they left doesn't mean they deserve to die. I mean, no one in that gymnasium deserved to die.
Well, there may be a couple people.
No, none of them in the gymnasium deserved to die. None of them did anything worthy of death sentence. I mean, you don't take them out and shoot them for being assholes and pricks they're high school kids, for God's sakes.
And Cody says, I cheer for her right up and tell people start dying.
Exactly.
Mike says, ideally, she would have gotten revenge on the clique that set her up. I don't know. It's me, though, right? Like, I'm the one that, since I was a wee lad, I've been watching horror movies cheering for the killers anyway. So, for me, it's just a standard fare. But especially with Carrie, I felt it might be one that other people might cheer. for her as well, just because of everything she's gone through. But then it says Carrie's telekinetic destruction of her school's prom took the lives of her classmates who tormented her. She also killed her mother and herself when she destroyed her home. Carrie struck back with a final jump scare for the viewers in the final moments of the film. The lone survivor of the prom massacre experiences a nightmare at Carrie's grave where her arm bursts up from the ground. So yeah, that is the 9th best horror movie ending according to Mr. Scott Allen here. So
Okay.
I could see that. Definitely fits right in. And I mean, came out in what, 76? So
Yeah.
predates like Halloween, predates Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. Most of those others I mentioned that kind of have like that, the killer comes back. Like I can't even say if it was really a genre trope by this point. It may have actually been kind of more of an original thought to do that back in 76. So
You got that one, and then you got the psycho one at the end. Norman Bates survives, and you get the creepy shot of him at the very end.
Yeah,
Boy's
yeah.
best friend is his mother.
Yeah, and then like Texas Chainsaw Massacre would have been out at this point. Like
Yeah.
Leatherface doesn't get got, but he doesn't get the last
the
victim.
heroine escapes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So going on to the next one, and I actually do have a. I figured there's always so many Shining things. May as well go ahead and have a little Shining reference thing. So the number 5 is The Shining Final Shot, featuring the mystery of the Stephen King adaptation. It says legendary director Stanley Kubrick went to extreme measures when it came to getting the performance he desires out of his cast for the 1980 adaptation of King's surprisingly poorly reviewed The Shining, which the way that's written, it makes it sound like King's book was poorly reviewed. It wasn't. Kubrick's film was originally poorly reviewed. It says,
Was it really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was, I believe Kubrick may have got nominated for a Razzie for Worst Director for The Shining.
For The Shining?
Yeah, and Shelley Duvall won a Razzie for Worst Actress for The Shining.
Jeez.
So, while his treatment of the actors was questionable, the end result produced a powerful atmospheric horror that was won over the fans of each generation. It says Jack Torrance and his family are threatened by the evil energy of the hotel they are caretaking for the winter. The movie played with the Overlook Hotel's relationship with the people it manages to possess. The final shot of The Shining focuses on a picture from the Overlook's past, showing that now features Jack Torrance. This left fans wondering if he was trapped or if he had always been there. So, yeah, definitely kind of a fun thing. We just had the 100-year anniversary for that not too long ago.
Yeah.
Was it last year? Yeah, because it's July 4th, isn't it? July 4th party is
I think, no, isn't it
in
New Year's?
1921.
Isn't it a New Year's party? I always thought it was a New Year's.
No, I think I'm trying to read it there. It's not zoomed in enough for me to see. I swear it's like...
I'll pull up the picture.
well, yeah, no, it wouldn't be New Year's. You wouldn't be able to get up there for New Year's.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a July 4th party. So, definitely a fun one. And then
July 4th, Overlook Hotel, July 4th ball, 1921.
So we're a couple days away from the 101-year anniversary of that party, which looks like a blast, by the way. Wouldn't you love to be there at that party?
No.
Why not? It looks fun. Having masks and, balloons and, drinks and whatnot.
It's the Overlook.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
I'm never going to the Overlook, thank you very much.
Oh, we're going.
No.
We're going to the Stanley, sir. We
Nope.
have to. We have to do a remote show at one point from the Overlook.
Mm-mm.
I mean the Stanley.
Nope.
Hopefully from room 217 if we can get that secured.
Nope.
That would be a probably one of the best remote Dark Tower palavers we could have.
Yeah, that's going to be a no for me, bro.
Oh, it'll happen.
Hard no.
Same as the Idris Elba movie coming up here in August
No,
called Beast.
No. You stop that.
We got to do it to support Idris Elba, our gunslinger.
I'm all for supporting Idris Elba, just not when literally the title of the movie is my fear of Beast. Like, no, we're not doing it.
It'll be real fun.
No.
All right, so then topping the list at number 1 for what did he title it? 10 best horror movie endings of all time. What does he rank at number 1? What do you think, Peter?
Number 1, well, it can't be it because its ending fell flat on its face.
Well, surprise, The Mist.
Oh, duh.
And I honestly I agree. If a list like this is made and The Mist is not number one, the list is no longer even legitimate in my mind, because it is the greatest ending in horror film history. And I would even go so far as to maybe expand that outside of just horror. It's one of the greatest film endings of all time. So it says The Mist features one of horror's most shocking and gut-wrenching twists. It says while The Mist was another adaptation of Stephen King's story, the unforgettable ending of the movie was unique and created by the director Frank Darabont. The Mist followed a father and his son as they find themselves trapped in a supermarket while thick mist filled with supernatural monsters covers the town. When religious chaos overtakes the supermarket, they manage to escape along with a few other people. Yet when the gas runs out and all hope is lost, they choose to end their lives. Well, the kid didn't choose that. He was asleep. Only the father was left when the gun jammed, which is incorrect.
He was out of bullets.
Yeah, he only had 5 rounds. If Ollie would have just been a little bit of a better shot earlier in the movie and just left one more bullet, it would have been awesome. Thanks, Ollie. The ending then saw the mist clear as the military rolled in to save the day. His final anguished scream rang in the viewer's ears long after the movie had ended. So yeah, I have to agree, man. It's just so good. It's
Josh says in the chat, Tad, greatest equals most depressing and horrific.
I mean, come on. The fact that this is because I always reference 1408 came out the same year. How many people are talking about 1408 today? Although just recently in the last month, it's actually been getting a little bit more talk because I believe it hit Netflix. And whenever something hits Netflix that maybe hasn't before, a lot of younger generation people will get exposed to it for the first time. In fact, just recently, I think The Mist and It have been added to.
Yeah, the 2017 It was just added.
Yeah, because I did see something that was saying that they have their top 10, and The Mist and It have been pretty high up in that top 10 recently.
The only reason I know that It got added to Netflix is because my daughter's like, Dad, something's wrong with my Netflix on my TV. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, I can see It. And I'm like, okay, you can see what? And she goes, no, It, like the clown. And I'm like, what? You're supposed to have a kid's profile. What the hell?
That's where you're like, you should just watch it, kid. Go ahead.
I went in and looked, and no, somehow she had accidentally got switched over to an adult profile. And I'm like, no.
That's a sign from the heavens, sir. It's time for her to watch It. At least watch the Georgie scene. Let's just have her watch that and then make her decision from there if she wants to continue on.
Stay away from storm drains.
Oh, man.
Alan says 1408 was brilliant.
And it really is. 1408 is a wonderful, wonderful movie, but it does not have the cultural impact, and people aren't talking about it like they should now. Like I said, just recently, because it got added to Netflix, there's been a little bit of talk about it. But overall, it's generally forgotten. And The Mist came out the same year, and The Mist is still talked about constantly. Like every Halloween, there's people watching it for the first time. People talk about it all the time. It just has a staying power, and that is 100% because of the ending. Nobody else. If they had done the King ending, it would be as forgotten as 1408, in my opinion.
Or App Pupil, or Hearts in Atlantis, or any of the other adaptations.
Secret Window.
Yeah, that have just come and gone and everything like that. One of the other things also, let's call it out perfectly well, because it's one of your favorite things on YouTube to watch is those reaction videos. Seeing people's reaction to the Mist ending for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
It's like hook it straight to your veins. You talk about it all the time, how much you love it.
Yeah. Another one that I just stumbled on in the last month or so was I just stumbled on a reaction video to the Shawshank Redemption.
Oh.
So then after that, I just went down the rabbit hole and started watching as many of those as I could. Man, that Red scene, that sure gets, or not Red, I'm sorry, Brooks.
Yeah.
The Brooks scene sure gets people.
Oh, does it?
Oh, dude. I mean, that gets more tears than almost anything I've seen. That's brutal. So, yes. Let's go ahead and jump to the next one. Again, this is the same thing. This is a list, but it's not all Stephen King, so I'm going to skip everything that is not Stephen King. There's a little bit of maybe even some crossover a little bit here. But this list is most emotional scenes in horror movies. Ranked, and this is by Annie Dory from MovieWeb on June 19th, 2022.
Awesome cover picture there.
Oh, it is. Toni Collette, still one of the greatest crimes in cinema history, that she wasn't even nominated for an Oscar for Hereditary, let alone the fact that she should have won it.
I can't
because there
believe that.
isn't a single actor, male or female, that did better than Toni Collette that year. And I will fight anyone over that. And I don't even remember exactly everyone, but yeah, nobody did better than she did. So she's wonderful. So let's go ahead and this starts off. Anna says the best horror films can often show the best ways to pull at your heartstrings. And then it says, intensifying the effects of the horror often relies upon evoking other negative feelings, appealing to other senses and generally bad emotions like disgust, depression, hopelessness, and loss. Often makes these films more realistic and hard-hitting. While some of the horror movies incorporated the elements of sadness into the main plot, others string you along on an emotional roller coaster ride. Though there are some spoilers ahead, let's take a look at some of the most emotional scenes in horror movies, and this is ranked. Again, I'm only going to highlight the Stephen King ones, but if you want to check out the full thing to see what the rest of her list is, go to the show notes, check out the link to it, go read it up. It is pretty good, especially if you're a horror fan. It took everything in me to draw this back just to the Stephen King stuff, because I am a horror fanatic.
You are a horror fiend.
Yes, indeed. What did I miss in the chat here?
Alan says we need to start a watch party.
Josh says I have kids. I just can't. Talking about The Mist, and I agree. I'm sure that makes it harder, but oh my god, the film is just it's wonderful. Josh says 1408 is one of the few horror movies I've seen in theaters. I hate horror, but I love Cy King. And then Alan says we need to have a watch party for 1408. 1408, man, it's that's a fun and sort of God you've seen it, but apparently not. So
Nope.
It's good. You just read it though.
I did
for
just
the
read
first
it.
time.
Yeah.
So that sounds like
Alan says Halloween isn't too far off. 1408 and Mist double feature.
Halloween is coming up, isn't it?
It is. It's July, man.
It doesn't feel like it because it just feels like the summer this year has been shit for movies. Like there hasn't been usually there's every week or every other week there's a new movie. It just doesn't feel like that's been happening this year. So just doesn't feel like summer for me because of that. So let's go ahead and dive in. What do you think most emotional scenes? Let's see give me your reactions as you hear these here. Number 8. So this is actually an 8 out of 8. So this is the last one ranked. But number 8, starting off the list, Gage's death in Pet Sematary,
God.
1989. Speaking of Josh and his...
Yes, Josh. 1408 is Stephen King. It's a short story in Everything's Eventual.
Is that the one it was? I don't remember.
I can't remember. I'll figure it out, Josh. I'll let you know in the chat.
So Gage's death, Pet Sematary. Speaking of Josh saying he was a parent, every parent's worst nightmare is losing their child. And the original movie adaptation of Stephen King's Pet Sematary captures the feeling in a gut-wrenching way. Dr. Lewis Creed, played by Dale Midkiff, moves his family to the town of Ludlow, Maine. A sleepy place with a dark secret, the local pet cemetery, known to raise things from the dead. One afternoon, the Creeds and their neighbor Judd Crandall are enjoying a picnic together when a semi-truck comes along up the road. Toddler Gage, played by Miko Hughes, chases a runaway kite, stumbling into the street where he quickly gets hit. As the music swells, a bloody shoe flops in view. Gage's split-second death strikes a chord with anyone who's ever spent time with taking care of children, especially since Lewis only turned his back for a mere moment. So... yes, indeed. Very emotional scene.
Yeah.
Although one thing I will say, though, I wish Gage had just stayed dead, because remember the old Achilles tendon there? He just gets pretty bad. The fact that Gage comes back. Look how adorable he is there. Again, though, even when he's a little killer monster, he is probably one of the cutest killers in horror movie history.
You've called him that before. He's the cutest killer.
How is he not? Look at that picture. I mean, I know he gets all pale looking and stuff, and he looks a little bit creepier, but he's still
He always reminds
cute.
me of one of the kids from the Children of the Corn kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Josh says, but Gage died in an auto accident. His dad didn't freaking shoot him in the head.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I will say that Gage's death is like worst nightmare for a parent. Like
because it's very
something like
relatable.
That could happen. It's crossed my mind. My daughter takes one step while we're walking on a sidewalk. I've walked.
Yeah.
We have a gas station kitty corner away from our house, and we've walked over and gotten drinks, not drove and everything like that.
Yeah.
There's the time where she takes that one step, and I'm like, this is where she trips and falls right into the street and just.
Like what is it, Final Destination?
Yeah, like
it's in your head the way that's playing out. It sounds like Final Destination.
Yeah. It's something that goes. I have that sense in my head of that worst case scenario thing going through my head every single time. Yeah, and as a parent, it just gets worse because you have everything to worry about with your kid now. This did not help me. That when I finally saw this movie and read that book, that did traumatize me.
Yeah, and Alan just
hashtag Tad is terrible for what? I don't know what you did for
what did I say? I was looking back at Alan's message. He says that should be an audience participation thing. Which 2 Stephen King movies would you watch as a double feature on Halloween night?
Oh damn!
You should take that down.
I'm gonna write that down. I'm gonna.
I guarantee you, I will not remember by the time it comes to actually doing such things. And then Josh says, okay, Peter, answer this. Would you rather your daughter get hit by a car or have to shoot her like in The Mist or by a zombie in The Walking Dead? Which is worse? I think probably shooting. I mean, I'm just not going to...
It honestly depends. If she's bit, then it's not as bad as her getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
At that point, it's a mercy kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but that's ultimately what Mr. Drayton was thinking too, right?
Yeah.
Is it was more of a mercy thing for everyone, and that's why he left himself as the one that doesn't get shot, because ultimately that death is going to be way more horrific in his mind than just getting the quick shot to the head. So little does he know that he isn't going to get a death that he wanted. So, but yeah, ultimately kind of interesting and macabre conversation there. But next up is number 7. So the next one on the list actually is Dan sacrificing himself, Dr. Sleep. It says Dr. Sleep incorporates themes of hope and recovery alongside the typical true horror elements. The story follows the continued journey of Danny Torrance as an adult, picking up where The Shining left off, wrestling with alcoholism and the trauma of his past. Dan, Ewan McGregor, struggles to find his purpose until he psychically connects with Abra Stone, played by Kaylee Kieran, the teenage girl with the similar abilities. The two team up against the True Knot, a band of energy vampires who eats what shines. And Rose the Hat is one of the greatest villains in Stephen King history. Dan returns from the Overlook Hotel, or returns to the Overlook Hotel with Abra, where he quickly is possessed by hungry ghosts. He breaks through the noise to tell Abra to run, and then goes down to the boiler room and finishes the job as the hotel is consumed in flames. In Stephen King's original novel, Dan escaped with his life, but his unfortunate death in the film still draws this chapter to a powerful close. So yeah, I think I agree. That's a pretty emotional thing there. See, every time I see you smiling, I know there's some shenanigans going on in the chat.
No, that was me. I accidentally put hashtag Alan is terrible, but that was Josh that said that question about my daughter. Hashtag Josh is terrible for that one. That's a Tad question right there. He's asked me shit like that before.
Oh yeah, I mean, one of my favorites is the Arrival. The movie Arrival, the aliens and stuff. And
Arrival.
Yeah.
I will not let my wife watch that.
You should. It's a great movie.
No.
It's a great movie,
Nope.
man. It's a great one.
That's the one that if she's ever like, we should watch it, I'm going to be like, hell no. I'm not doing that to her. That is so fucked up.
Such a great movie, though, man.
No.
Such a great movie. All right, so then the last one that Stephen King on this top 8 list, this one was a top 8. Only 3 of them are Stephen King. But number 3, once again, is The Mist.
Yeah.
The ending is all it says here, is the ending, The Mist. It says The Mist has been regarded as one of the darkest Stephen King adaptations since the release in 2007. And the question there, I would say, so we know novel-wise, Pet Sematary is probably the darkest thing King's ever written, right?
He said it, too.
And do we agree, though, is what I'm saying? Now, do we think that either adaptation of Pet Sematary has captured the darkness crown, or does The Mist steal it away for adaptations?
Adaptations, The Mist is still the worst because there's that, if he had waited 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But,
or if he had turned left.
Pet Sematary's number 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The newer Pet Sematary, the way that it ends with like the car unlocking.
Yeah.
Oh God, you know what's coming for little Gage.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's so dark.
Yeah. It's just all payback for that Achilles tendon from the last movie.
Something he didn't even do. It's an alternate, another level of the tower.
I have to give myself some credit here because Tad is not terrible. That when Gage's death was brought up, I did think about bringing that GIF back on the slideshow. I was very close. In fact, I actually had a slide made with it in there, but I deleted it. So let me take some credit here.
No, hashtag Tad is terrible for even having the thought of doing that. Wow.
I mean, it's what you got to do.
Alan over here sticking up for Josh in the chat. Hashtag Josh asks fair questions. Fair.
And then this goes on and says, in the aftermath of the storm, of a small Maine town is besieged by mysterious fog that starts to leak gigantic, long-limbed creatures. David Drayton, I keep blanking on his first name. Thomas Jane and his son Billy, Nathan Gamble, fight for survival alongside a group of others. They all travel together until they discover that David's wife, Stephanie, is dead, which is, yes, that is something to not overlook. That is an element of that last montage as that song's playing.
He's also lost his wife.
Yeah, his wife dies. I think a lot of us can overlook that just in the light of everything
With how
that
little
happens.
she's in the movie too, yeah.
And also, if you think about it logically, you probably know she's dead because they had a broken window, so there would have been no safety for her.
Yeah.
And it says, and their home had been ransacked, seeing no way out. The survivors decide to end it when their car begins to run empty. David takes it upon himself to shoot the others, including Billy. Screaming, he stumbles out of the van to watch as an army tank rolls through the mist. He slowly realizes that help was just a few moments away all along. This ending is absolutely bleak as the film fades out and the credits start to roll with the haunting choral backing track, which, yes, that's definitely a great one.
We're off to a great start on this show. We're so happy.
It is.
and
It's just
sunshine and
sunshine and lollipops.
lollipops and
And dead Tads. We've mentioned that already, you know. That's from Cujo, Stephen King, that monster killing Tads. But yes, hey, even if King was to kill me, we're still going to get you to see Beast.
no.
August 19th in theaters.
No. Just no.
Just so everyone knows, if you haven't seen the trailer, there's a movie called Beast with Idris Elba about him and his daughters in Africa on like a safari, and
It's a chance for them to reconnect. Their mother had passed away, and they used to go there together as a couple.
yeah, and they're attacked by a
Ferocious man-eating lion.
Yes,
Which is like
it seems like a big one too.
Which is the start of where it was when I met Tad, he's like, "Oh, do you like horror films?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like Ghost in the Darkness." And he looked at me like, "That's not a horror movie." But the lions scared the hell out of me because they're beasties, werewolf,
Yeah.
beast,
Hey.
lions. That's the kind of thing that scares me.
The best way to deal with a lion is a stampede of gazelles, is it?
Wildebeest.
Wildebeest. That's the best way to ice a lion right there.
Well, you also have to have the brother that
and you also have to have the little kid to blame it on. Like, what the fuck did you do, kid? You see this? You just killed your
Wow.
dad. I can see the pain that put in you there. Just on your face there momentarily, there was like a pain.
I mean, you're bringing up like
That-
childhood memories here and everything.
That was a
so-
knife to your childhood trauma there
Yeah.
from Mufasa there. All right, so now moving on to more Alan Sunshine and euthanasia. Yes, I love it. I love that. So next one, though, is a fun little news update. Stranger Things creators offer an update on Stephen King's The Talisman adaptation.
Oh, that's right. It is the Duffer Brothers, isn't it?
Yeah, the Duffer Brothers were brought on board to the 30, almost probably 40 year, actually, at this point. We're probably at about the 40-year mark
Yeah.
of the time that Steven Spielberg bought the rights to The Talisman, and still nothing's come of it. So the Duffer Brothers got signed on back in, I think, 2019-ish. It was pre-COVID. I know that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so this is from Spencer Perry from comicbook.com on June 25th, 2022. Says when Stranger Things first premiered in the summer of 2016, creators Ross and Matt Duffer frequently talked about their two big influences being the two Steves, Steven Spielberg and Stephen King, which what a great inspiration, what great inspirations to have. The brothers have had a chance to take their love for King and Spielberg to the next level, however, having previously been attached to the project that seems almost too perfect, an adaptation of The Talisman. Which, again, I don't think this even really highlights it too much, but Steven Spielberg is still involved. So if the two Steves are their biggest influences, they're going to be working directly with both Steves on this project. So
I think Cody sums it up directly for both of us.
yeah, insert in my veins now, please. Yes, exactly. Yes. Like that's my thing, is I keep rolling my eyes where I'm just like, because I thought this fourth season of Stranger Things was the end, and now I'm hearing them talk about a fifth season. I'm just like, just stop with Stranger Things for a minute and make the fucking Talisman. You can make 25 seasons of Stranger Things until they're all in the fucking AARP, like benefits line together, but just stop for a minute and make fucking the Talisman, for Christ's sake, because I want to see that very much.
Oh yeah.
It says in a new interview, the pair offered an update on the progress of the series. Speaking with Variety, they were asked about how it's been working on a project with both of their heroes attached. It's amazing, Matt Duffer said. We've had one meeting with Steven Spielberg and the other producers. It's really early right now. We have an outline for the first episode. So if that's nothing of an identifier of, if they only have an outline for it, we're probably still a ways away.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. Ross Duffer,
probably because they're going to finish season 5 first, like you're saying.
Yeah. Ross Duffer adds, I think with with Spielberg, and really what it was so inspiring is how much he loves the joy of storytelling. Specifically with the story of the Talisman. Again, there's a lot of supernatural thing. There's a werewolf. There's a lot of exciting things that are going on, but at the core, it's really about a mother and her son and their relationship and their love for one another. Hopefully the goal goal of it is to make sure that really carries the series, and we're really excited about it. And it says at the height of both Steven Spielberg and Stephen King's prowesses in the 1980s, the Academy Award-winning director secured the rights for Stephen King and Peter Straub's The Talisman 2 full years before it was published. Several attempts were made over this time to turn it into a feature film, but now with the Duffer Brothers and the Stranger Things writer and executive producer Curtis Gwynn attached to the project, it seems it could finally happen. The series is in the works with Netflix, with Paramount Television Studios also involved with the production. Gwen will serve as a showrunner for this series, which has Spielberg and the Duffers acting as executive producers. So, if nothing else, it's an update. We have literally heard nothing about it since that initial announcement back in 2019, I really think it was, or 2018 maybe even, when they were originally announced that the Duffer Brothers were, and I think it's going to be for Netflix. So that was the announcement, is it was going to be for Netflix. They brought the Duffer Brothers aboard to work with Spielberg to bring The Talisman as a series, not just a movie. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to at least hear some kind of update, because it has been a long while now since we've heard anything. So
this actually does give me hope for it, because what I can see happening is that they have the plan for season 5 of Stranger Things, which they have said is going to be the last one.
Yeah.
So if they already have that kind of mapped out, then they might be looking at their next project, which would be The Talisman.
My biggest thing is I just hope that, because the thing is COVID offset a little bit.
Yeah.
So this newest season is 2 or 3 years off, but COVID is only one of those years. There was already a break between the Stranger Things seasons, and I feel like there just turns into this thing where I love the old days of television when it was on TV, because there was no such thing as we're going to take a year off. Every year there was going to be a new season.
Yeah.
There's no way around that. And that is the one downside to streaming, is there's times they're allowing some of these streaming people to be like, oh, we can't do it in a year. We need 2 years. And then COVID happens. Now it's been 3 years. I just hope season 5 can be coming out next year, and then we could be done with it. Not that I hate Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But again, I want The Talisman. I've read it now,
Yeah.
so I'm definitely keen to seeing it happen. And I think it'd be a killer
I'm very
show.
happy that you've read it, so that you know why we're so excited for this now.
Honestly, and part of me too is I would love to see Black House as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if it probably puts me in the minority, but I think I may have liked Black House a little bit more. So I really enjoyed Black House quite a bit. It was a little bit rough in the first first little bit of it, but overall that was just a great story that I really enjoyed. So I can't wait to see it all play out.
They're both so good, and they're going to make fantastic series.
Yeah, indeed. Can't wait to see.
Well, The Talisman at least is going. We haven't heard about Black House, but
yeah, Jack and Wolf. Let's see what those guys are up to here on Netflix. Yeah. That'll be fun, but. Yeah, with them having outlined one episode, and then the other thing is I don't think we've heard anything about any writers being hired yet. So, yeah, it's probably...
Didn't it say in the article that they had the writer from Stranger Things as part of it?
He's the executive producer. Stranger Things... Well, he's the Stranger Things writer and producer. And he's attached to the project. Who knows if he's just a producer or if he's actually going to be doing the writing at all. Who knows? So...
Josh asked if Stranger Things is 22-year-olds playing 14-year-olds now.
Pretty much, man. I
don't think it's that bad, but I did notice...
it is, because they have not done a time jump yet.
What's his name?
Because they say
Steve.
They did say
Steve's 30.
They
now.
They did say season 5 they're actually going to do a time jump to address the actors' ages. Because literally we're only I think it's been a yearly thing. So this is getting worse than Harry Potter in terms of turnaround here. Because I think all these kids, they're not supposed to be as old as they are. Because Millie Bobby Brown, isn't she 18 or 19 now?
I'm literally searching her.
I was going to say I don't remember how old all of them are, but I know that
Millie Bobby Brown is 18, which is not that far off from where they're at in the show. They're sophomores in high school.
Yeah, that's 2 years off.
That's 2. Okay, but that's not 22-year-olds playing 14-year-olds.
Damn near. Look at Finn Wolfhard now, dude. He does not look like a high school kid anymore. Not at all.
No.
Because he's aging quick. which you generally do at that age.
That's what happens when you're a kid, you know?
Yeah.
Kid, they're adults now, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, let's see. Next article here. And
Still not as bad as 90210 or Beverly Hills or whatever the hell they were.
Yeah, all those shows in the
Where
90s when it was 30-year-olds playing high school kids.
40-year-olds playing 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
High school.
Yeah. So the next article we have here is Salem's Lot star explains why adapting Stephen King's story is so scary.
Is it so scary that you can't put out a fucking trailer?
And let's not blame him. This is just the actor.
I know.
But I agree. I want a fucking trailer, for God's sake. I'm starting to get worried that they're just going to not market it at all. Then it's going to fucking flop, because you can't get a good movie performance without good marketing. So it is slightly disturbing that we're 2 months away and there's no trailer yet.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate. And this is by Sarah Laudenbach from Screen Rant on June 25th, 2022. And it says the star of the upcoming horror film Salem's Lot explains why adapting the Stephen King story for the screen is so scary. King's novel of the same name was first released in 1975 and has since become one of King's most notable works. Alongside works like The Shining, It, and Carrie, while Salem's Lot has been adapted into several TV shows and miniseries in the past, it was announced in April of 2019 that New Line Cinema would be releasing Salem's Lot as a feature film. Which is the first time it's going to be a film.
Yeah.
Salem's Lot follows Ben Mears, a writer who returns to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot in Maine to try to write his next novel, only for Ben to realize that the town has been preyed upon by vampires, who have begun to turn the residents into vampires themselves. In April of 2020, it was announced that Gary Doberman, writer of Annabelle and the It films, would be the film adaptation's director. 1 year later, actor Lewis Pullman was cast to portray the leading role of Ben Mears. Pullman most recently starred in the romantic drama Press Play. In an exclusive interview with Screen Rant, Pullman discussed why adapting Stephen King horror story is so scary. The other thing I want to point out is Lewis Pullman is it Bill Pullman from the Back to the Future movies? This is his son, and he did an incredible job. He's probably one of the better performances in one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years, which was the Bad Times at the El Royale.
Oh, such a good movie.
Yeah, Lewis Pullman played one of the best roles in that.
Okay,
but
Bill Pullman is
that's
dad?
his dad, yeah.
Okay, if you're going to talk about Bill Pullman, you have to talk about his most iconic role, which is Independence Day. Come on, he's the president, for God's sakes.
No, sir.
Yes, he is.
Back to the Future.
He gave that speech, and it's almost Independence Day. You recognize president.
Back to the Future. Only Back to the Future 1, though, because he's the one that sued them for reusing footage of him in the second one when they didn't pay him any salary for the second movie.
Oh, really? I never heard about that.
Yeah. So Pullman, and this is his quote here, he says, talk about scary for two reasons, because it's Stephen King and the legacy is strong for a reason, and then also the material. Salem's Lot is just one of the coolest books. I think there's a reason why it hasn't been made into a feature. It's been made into these 2-part series, but it's such a long book. It's hard to condense that into a feature-length film, but writer-director Gary Doberman has really tapped into the vein of this genre. It feels like he has liberty to play with it a little bit and reinvent it. So that's his quote on it, which totally makes sense. We've actually kind of talked about that a little bit too, in terms of how is this going to be a feature film? There's a lot going on in this novel. It's not really all that long page count wise, but content wise, it's beyond its page count.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
Yep.
So it says, having written 64 novels over 46 years and being considered one of the world's most prolific writers, adapting a King story into another format is an intimidating challenge, especially stories that are extremely long. However, Salem's Lot only has 439 pages, which is nothing compared to King's It, which stands at 1,138 pages, with the 2017 adaptations of It being a smash hit in the box office. And with horror fans, there is proof that King adaptations, longer novels can actually be highly successful. And with Doberman having written for both It and It Chapter 2, the director has a wealth of experience in successfully adapting King's horror stories for the silver screen. It says earlier this year, the film adaptation of King's Firestarter hit theaters in May and wound up being a box office flop, partially due to it being available on Peacock. If it is proof that the film adaptation of King's works can be massive successes, Firestarter is proof of the opposite, and it remains to be seen which one Salem's Lot will follow. Which is
I'm thinking Firestarter with the way we're going.
Yeah, if they don't freaking market it, for Christ's sake. I mean, because even if it isn't on streaming, if it's never marketed and nobody knows it's coming, if they
no one's going to plan to go see it.
Yeah, exactly.
Theaters aren't a guarantee. It's not, hey, it's Friday night, let's go to a movie anymore. It's hey, it's Friday night, let's see what's on HBO Max or Netflix.
Yeah, indeed.
You gotta get it out there if you want people to see it.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I also love that Midnight Mass is being mentioned in the chat. That's such a great
Midnight Mass
show.
is so fucking good.
I mean, it's no Haunting of Hill House, but let's be honest, what is?
Yeah. Haunting of Hill House has probably one of the greatest jump scares that I've ever experienced.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be one of the better jump scares of all time.
That was so good.
Yeah. It's a great one, man. I've been kind of circling that one to potentially do a rewatch. I've been for months now.
Hold off for
I
Halloween.
don't think I can hold off, man.
Hold off for
I don't know
Halloween,
if I
dude.
can hold off. It's so
Hold off
fucking
for
good.
at least October. Come on, you
I
can
don't
do
know.
it.
I don't know.
You can do it, Ted.
Spooky season's 365 for me,
God
sir.
damn right it is.
All right, so next up, we have a fun little Dark Tower thing, and it's 40 years on the road to the Dark Tower. And this is by Max Restaino from Fangoria, which is always fun to get stuff from Fangoria, on June 19th,
That's a good
2022.
It's a good day to publish it on.
Yeah, of course.
The anniversary of King's accident.
It's a big day for sure.
Yeah.
And then starting off the article here, Max says a fate, if there's such a thing exists, begins when it chooses. There's no predicting its arrival. Often said arrival is less than subtle. Sometimes good things come to pass, sometimes bad. Regardless, it is a wheel that turns undeterred. And then it says, on July 19th, 1970, still 4 years from publishing his first novel, an author named Stephen King wrote the following sentence: "The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed." In doing this, Stephen King sealed his fate and became destined to write his magnum opus, The Dark Tower. So
He wrote it on the 19th,
that line
and then he got hit by the van on the 19th.
on the 19th, yes.
Years later.
Yes.
What the hell?
Now, 52 years later, King's 8-novel series sits on bookshelves across the planet, thousands of pages opening the door to one of the most enchanting worlds this particular Fangoria contributor has ever had the pleasure of visiting. Of course, we could celebrate the existence of the Dark Tower cycle every day, but this year is a bit different. This year, 4 of those volumes are celebrating milestone anniversaries, which is interesting. So in 2022, Volume 8, The Wind Through the Keyhole, turns 10 years old.
Okay.
Volume 4, Wizard and Glass, turns 25.
Okay.
Volume 2, The Drawing of the Three, turns 35.
All right.
And finally, most importantly, the reason that I'm here with you all today, Volume 1, The Gunslinger, turns 40. And we actually just talked about that on the last episode, because I think it was the day before we recorded our last episode was the 40th anniversary.
The 18th. No.
I think it was the 11th, so I think it was the 10th.
Yeah, the 10th. That's right.
So, big anniversaries, some big ones there for a lot of the books here.
4 of them. That's crazy.
It says, so how does King's short story turn into a novel that spawned 7 sequels? Let's see. Yes, that's the right one. How does it spawn 7 sequels? Well, it's kind of an interesting story if you have a few minutes. It says originally released in 1982 by Donald M. Grant Publishing, The Gunslinger was a collection of 5 stories that were published in the magazine of fantasy and science fiction beginning in October 1978 with the first piece titled The Gunslinger and ending on November 1981 with the final piece, The Gunslinger and the Dark Man. And it says in the revised edition of The Gunslinger, published in 2006 by Scribner, the final section was retitled The Gunslinger and the Man in Black. Considering that The Dark Tower was, at the time, quite a departure for King, its publication was severely limited, and it wasn't until the following year that people started to take notice. If you own any of the books, you probably noticed that they'll usually list the other titles by that author in the opening pages. In 1983, Stephen King had far fewer publications under his belt than he does today, and readers cracking open a fresh copy of Pet Sematary noticed something unfamiliar. In the list of the other King works, beneath Christine, was something called The Dark Tower. Originally limited to 10,000 copies in what was supposed to be only one pressing, The Gunslinger began an epic story of Roland Deschain, the last gunslinger, and his journey across Midworld to the Dark Tower, an enormous ashen structure that holds all of existence in place. Sorry, am I missing anything in the chat here?
You are. I'm going to let you finish, though.
All right. Well, is there anything?
Josh said, I don't know if I've ever mentioned it, but I got married on January 19th, 2019.
Oh, okay.
That's really cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then Josh says his wife chose the date because she knows he's a Dark Tower huge fan and how much he loves it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then Robert asked you a question. Says, Tad, did you finish your annual summer reading of The Stand?
No, I'm
You're partway through.
I'm
right?
in it now. Yeah, I'm currently hanging out with Mother Abigail with her first wave of visitors. Nick and Tom and Ralph
After getting the chickens
have all arrived at the house. They've all had their dinner. Tom's gone to bed, and now they're starting to have the serious conversations about God and whatnot.
having a little palaver, you might say.
Yes, indeed. Some palaver indeed. Of course, I'm in a long stretch here that I haven't seen my boy Randall Flagg, the star of the story, for a while, which I'm sad
He's
about.
not
But
the star of the story.
sure he is, sir.
No
one's better than Flagg in the book. That's all I'm saying.
There's 8 people I can name off the top of my head that are better.
That is subjective. No, he's the best. Okay, so then it says in the book Road to the Dark Tower, exploring Stephen King's magnum opus, King scholar Bev Vincent writes, quote, in 1983, bookstores had no record of the Dark Tower. No one, it seemed, knew how to acquire this mysterious volume. Vincent goes on to write that Doubleday, who published Pet Sematary, received more than 3,000 letters inquiring how people could get their hands on the book that they hadn't even published. So people are reaching out to Doubleday asking about this book that wasn't even published by them because it was listed in their book.
It was Pet Cemetery, right? Is what it was?
Christine, I believe. Yeah,
Christine's the one where they.
It was Pet Cemetery. It was it was listed next to Christine.
It was Pet Cemetery. They listed it, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute. There's this other book by Stephen King. I want it." And
yeah.
They're like, "Oh, well."
So the other thing I wonder, what do King books look like now? Because I haven't bought a physical copy for a while, and I know digital books don't put those like also by the author things in there. But
they do at the end of audiobooks.
Yeah, they'll do that.
Also by Stephen King. Check out later.
But like at the front of like a hardcover book or a hard copy book. Nowadays, do they literally list every Stephen King book, or do you think they just have like highlights?
One of the books I bought did do that.
Everything?
I think it did.
That would be quite the list.
And it was back. I mean, it was back when we were in high school because I bought like Tommy Knockers or something like that.
Okay.
And it had I think it had almost everything listed.
Yeah.
And then I think what it did is it highlighted the ones that were Dark Tower in bold, saying these were Dark Tower novels.
Okay. And it says, much like how the Dark Tower series itself stands out in King's body of work as something that is wholly in its own genre, The Gunslinger stands apart from the books that follow. King's first installment of Roland's journey is much grittier and meditative than the wild Tolkien-esque adventures that follow, though there is never a moment where King isn't fully invested in the fantasy of it all. A stark lack of hope flows throughout the Dark Tower's first chapter. It says, considering it starts at a time when King was also writing novels that would be published under his pseudonym, Richard Bachman, King's earliest novels, written between 1967 and 1972, are by and large his most nihilistic than anything published under his real name. The hopelessness shouldn't be surprising, but it's quite the contrast to the series as a whole. Though I feel I should state that this doesn't mean that it's all sunshine and daisies and elves for the next 6 books, which is true. You know, as different as the tone is for book 1, let's not pretend that the rest of the books aren't full of all kinds of horrible shit.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we just talked about Jake not long ago, about how many times Jake dies, for God's sake. Not to mention his life isn't all that peachy outside in between all those deaths. Even now,
it's like he died once and everything just went downhill from there.
No, everything was pretty shitty before he died the first time, too.
I mean...
shitty parents, no friends at school.
Yeah, there were far worse situations to be in.
His only freaking, like, seemingly normal relationships with a hired hand at the house.
Or hired hand. And then his only acquaintance is, like, the bowling guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty sad life for the kid. Even now, the Dark Tower series proves to be a little bit of an enigma when it comes to King fan base. It's not uncommon to encounter a constant reader who has not taken the journey down the road to the Dark Tower, and that's totally fine. Not everything has to be for everyone, but I believe out of all the people who love these stories, none of us can claim it holds a larger place in our hearts than Stephen King himself. It says in the afterwords for The Dark Tower, The Wizard and Glass, the series' 4th volume, King writes, quote, I've written enough novels and short stories to fill a solar system of imagination, but Roland's story is my Jupiter, a planet that dwarfs all others. And he says, and then in parentheses, at least in my own perspective, a place of strange atmosphere, crazy landscapes, and savage gravitational pull. And then he goes on and says, the gravitational pull caught me in my late life, and it hasn't let go. Growing up a Stephen King fan with ADHD who struggled too much with reading to get much enjoyment out of it, I became hyper-fixated on cinema. It's far more under control these days, but for a long time I couldn't get past the idea that reading was just too difficult for me. But as fate, and he says in parentheses, or Ka, as we like to call it on this here road, is that wheel that I mentioned earlier. And a few years ago, I was given a copy of The Gunslinger for Christmas by a friend who had been urging me to take the journey for a long time. I now started reading it that night, and a week later, I was in the middle of Volume 4. Not only was Midworld open to me, but the world of literature itself in a way I'd never experienced before. I read 100 books that year, and about 35 of them by Stephen King, and I haven't stopped since. One of King's most famous quotes is, "Books are uniquely portable magic." And it's true, both literary and figuratively. Not only can you bring them everywhere, and it says in parentheses, even to the toilet, which King points out in his memoir On Writing, but they can fully transport you to a new world so vivid and utterly flushed with pure imagination. And he says, so, dear Fango reader, on this day, on June 19th, a day in which we remember events both fact and fiction, if you find yourself in need of to escape to a world aside from our own, and there are other worlds in these, do consider this. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed, and that's only the beginning. So I just felt like a good little love letter to the Dark Tower
really
series
cool.
on a pretty significant day in Dark Tower history, not only in the books, sounds like King wrote the first line on the June 19th. King was hit by the van on June 19th, 1999. And then in the books, that's obviously a very big day.
Yeah.
In the
19
for the same
huge
reason.
number, yeah.
For the same reason, right? The accident becomes a pretty big plot point. So it's a big day in the books as well. So, anything else I missed in the chat here?
I just asked everyone if they can remember the last physical King book that they bought.
Yeah, as everyone can see behind
oh,
me.
hey, you got the Dark Tower series right there behind you, the complete set. Grab one of those. Does it have anything in the oh, look, you got Gunslinger right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Does
though.
it have anything inside there? You were just asking.
Yeah, I don't. Let's see. Oh, there's a page right there. Also by Stephen King, Carrie Sales. Oh, that actually does look pretty damn complete.
Look at that.
Up to End of Watch, which is probably about the time that this was published. Then there is one that says Novels in the Dark Tower series, has all of those listed.
Yeah, that's what it was like.
And then
yeah.
by Stephen King as Richard Bachman are all listed separately, with Peter Straub are listed differently. And then nonfiction, Dan's Macabre and On Writing are listed, kind of carved out there. So yeah, I do think that is actually everything.
Can you show the camera that a
guess
little bit?
I don't know. It probably won't focus right.
No.
But, yeah, it looks like so they actually do it. Interesting. I just didn't know because that's a pretty sizable list. I just wondered if they would maybe just be like, we're not going to write all this. Let's just put down like also wrote The Shining, also wrote, some of the big ones.
Josh has to go. He says he's still catching up. He's listening since 2018 on the podcast where he's at right now. And he says long days and pleasant nights. So long days and pleasant nights. Josh, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Josh. Good to have you with us. All right, so I think we got one more news article. Then we got some odds and ends, and then we've got some palaver as well as a new section which I teased on Twitter, or a new feature on the show here. Let me get to the right page here. Let's go ahead and jump into this last one, though. It is a sad one, and it is John Turkel dies. Actor who played Lloyd the bartender in The Shining, was 94.
Wow, nice old age.
And this is by Greg Evans from Deadline on July 1st, 2022. So this just happened yesterday. It says, John Turkel, a prolific character actor whose indelible performances include roles such as the sinister bartender Lloyd in The Shining and the maker of artificial humans in Blade Runner, died on Monday, June 27th at St. John's Hospital. He was 94. So he did die a little bit, probably last week. But it was just barely announced yesterday. It says his death was announced by the family, who said he died peacefully with his sons Craig and Robert by his side. Turkel was born July 15th, 1927 in Brooklyn, age 17. He enlisted in the Merchant Marines and then joined the United States Army and saw active wartime service in Europe. He moved to California in 1947 to pursue an acting career and the following year landed his first credited film work in City Across the River in 1948. Perhaps best known for his work in two major 1980s films, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining in 1980, in which he played the ghostly barkeep serving drinks to the deranged Jack Nicholson, and in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner in 1982, in which he played Dr. Eldon Tyrell, maker of artificial humans. Turkel had earlier appearances in Kubrick's first major features, The Killing, 1956, and Paths of Glory, 1957, which was co-starring Kirk Douglas. Turkel is one of two actors who worked in 3 Stanley Kubrick films as a credited character. His skills were on full display in The Shining as he engaged in conversation full of potent and menace with Nicholson's haunted, disturbed Jack Torrance. Quote, women, Lloyd said after Torrance ranted about his wife, Wendy, can't live with them, can't live without them. Words of wisdom, Lloyd, my man, Torrance responded as if given the marching orders, words of wisdom. Later, when Torrance questioned who had paid for his on-the-house drinks, Lloyd calmly replies, it's not a matter that concerns you, Mr. Torrance, at least not at this point. Which, yeah, that's true, man. That's some sinister acting by him in this role. Just before his death, Turkel completed a memoir entitled The Misery of My Success. the family plans to publish the book sometime late 2022.
Oh, good.
So got that coming. But yeah, a little bit of sad news. Like I said, just came across the wire here yesterday. So yeah, that's pretty. That is sad. But again, it seems like we have a lot of shining stuff. But let's go ahead and jump on over to odds and ends. And don't worry if you think we're going a little bit quickly here. We kind of are, but
we do have a sizable Palaver section.
Yes,
that Tad was teasing. It is going to take up a lot of time, so
yeah,
have no fear. I want to start off odds and ends. I didn't warn you about this, but I wanted to talk about something real fast.
Okay.
I'm reading Sleeping Beauties, and I gotta say, it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it is so good.
Yeah, I've had that on my list. Kind of like I try to like prioritize what I want to read at what point, and I've definitely thought about that one. Because I mean, wait, which one did he write? Did he write one with Joe Hill?
Joe Hill helped him with the ending of 11/22/63, but this one's with Owen.
No, I know.
So it is.
I was thinking they had one that was co-credited with Joe Hill, but maybe not.
I don't think he does.
Okay,
but yeah, Sleeping Beauties. I know a lot of people. Mike says it in the chat. That is a great book. I know a lot of the extended content have said that we should read it.
I still need to hit Revival too, though.
I'm throwing my hat in the ring. Oh, if you're going to do Revival or Sleeping Beauties, I'm only partway through Sleeping Beauties. I'd say do Sleeping Beauties over Revival.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
Revival
so fucking good. Like, I was telling my wife about it.
I'm trying to get through as many as I can. So the rule I made it for myself is for every reread, I have to at least read 2 new ones.
Yeah.
So once the stand's over, I've got 2 new ones I've got to do before I could do any kind of rereads. Because I know you're constantly giving me shit about Dr. Sleep. I haven't read that since 2012.
I can't believe you have not reread that.
11/22/63, I haven't read.
I literally just re-listened to both of those in the last month.
Yeah.
But then again, I did have some time off when I got sick. So,
Yeah. Cody says he wrote In the Tall Grass with Joe Hill. Okay, I thought he did something with Joe. Yeah, and then Agamorphy says 2 stories by Joe and Stephen King. Yeah, I thought that he had done with both of his kids there, so that's what I was thinking, but I couldn't, in my top of my head, Sleeping Beauty sticks in my mind as with Owen, but Joe Hill, for some reason, doesn't stick in my mind. So, all right, well, yeah, no, I'll definitely have to prioritize. I still also haven't read, Do McKee, which everyone's been giving me, recommendations on. There's a lot to read, certainly, but Sleeping Beauties for me though, if I went from the bottom of my list up, that would be the first one I'd be reading. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to hit that one. But yeah, let's go ahead and on the odds and ends here. So this one I saw that was kind of fun. There was a Easter egg that was pointed out. I see it kind of floating around online and stuff. Frank Darabont slipped a fun little reference to The Shining in Shawshank.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, one that I've never known before.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and throw it up on the screen here. Red Cell. Red is in cell 237.
Oh.
And in fact, I also have some auditory proof.
I want every man on this cell block questioned. Start with that friend of his.
Who?
Him.
Open 237.
Open 237. Okay.
So that has slipped by me for ages.
Wow.
But yeah, Red is in cell 237. So that's fun. Gotta love that. Found that just interesting. Because we also found we just had one we talked about not that long, a couple months ago, where I believe it's the fake name that Andy makes up is Randall.
Yeah.
And that was for Randall Flagg, is what Darabont has said. So that's awesome to see that Andy's using the great name of Randall Flagg.
No.
You know, at least some connection to Randall Flagg to
Stop it.
to wash his life of all the badness and go on to glorious happiness on the beach.
Getting out of prison, Randall Flagg breaks Lloyd out of prison. I mean, it's a common theme for Flagg, you know.
Which, speaking of the newer Stand, which was mentioned earlier, I will say that scene with Lloyd in the jail was
so good.
Was brilliantly done. That's one of the high points of the show for sure.
The button winking.
Yeah. And then next up, this one's fun. So on June 14th, there was a tweet from Shelley Meals with a picture of the first day of the Welcome to Derry Writers Room.
Yeah.
And she tweeted a picture. It says, first day of Welcome to Derry Writers Room. We all float down here, and then a balloon emoji. And the picture is of the Writers Room, which is full of red balloons.
That is creepy as hell.
That actually excited me a little bit because I do fully understand that a Writers Room could be compiled when a show has not been given a green light. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It just feels like where King was like, oh, there's a handshake deal and stuff. The last thing we had on the last episode, King kind of was making it sound like it may not be as like all steams ahead.
All systems go.
Yeah, it just seemed like King suddenly made us feel like it was a step back on it. But the fact that now, then a few days after we did our episode, this was tweeted and showed, okay, cool, writer's room has not only been put together, compiled, and hired. Again, I know that doesn't mean a green light, but now they've started their first day, so they're probably right now pounding their heads against the wall, writing scripts for Welcome to Derry. So that should be fun. I can't wait, man. Some more Pennywise, that's what we need in our lives.
Didn't you just admit the other day that you had red balloons that came too late to tie them to our cars after?
No, it wasn't you guys. I was just going to do it randomly.
Chapter 2 or Chapter 1?
Chapter 2.
Chapter 2.
Yeah. But they were all sold out. So, and then
I wonder why.
By the time they ended up getting to me, it was already long past. But I wanted opening weekend to go fill like 100 red balloons and then just tie them to random cars' antennas outside the theaters, assuming that most people that were going to the theater that weekend were probably going to see it. And I think that would have been a safe assumption. So,
and even if they didn't, they still
would have seen like, balloons all over the place. Yeah, that would have been fun. But I don't know. Now it sounds like maybe more Pennywise is coming. So that's great.
No.
Next up, we've got King compares the Black Phone to his work. So Black Phone just came out not too long ago, directed by Scott Derrickson. And Scott Derrickson was doing an interview.
Mike put #Ted gets arrested.
I don't
think anyone would arrest him they would tell him to stop.
Now, when I hire like clowns to stand outside the theater and run at people, that might get me more trouble.
That would get you in trouble.
Oh man! So Scott Derrickson was doing an interview, and he had a quote here. He says, "I know that that author Joe Hill showed it to his dad, and Stephen King commented on it. He saw it, apparently loved it, and his comment to Joe was, quote, it's Stand By Me in hell." And Scott Derrickson says what you thought was great, which I think is true. I think that's kind of what I said after we saw it.
You said that right outside the theater.
Is that it felt way more like a coming of age tale than anything else. Even more than a horror movie. It had its horror elements certainly, but it wasn't the balls to the wall horror that I was expecting necessarily. Not that that's a bad thing, but yeah, it's Stand By Me in Hell. That is an apt synopsis by Mr. King, comparing it to...
it's a really good explanation for what that movie really is.
Yeah, highly recommend it to anyone. It's really good. Yeah, indeed. Anything else I'm missing in the chat here? I'm seeing some emojis. Thank you for that, Agamorphy. I'm always glad to see some emojis for Peter's sake.
Hate emojis.
Let's see. Anything else? #. All right, yeah. So let me keep up on the chat just in case. All right. So next up, we've got Detective Comics, which may be known to you. So they came out with a new logo. They came out with a new logo. It's on the screen now.
Batman.
So yeah, new Detective Comics. They came out with a new logo. Somebody from DC tweeted it, and I did actually take this person's name off because I don't want whatever. I don't want anyone to like, not that I would suspect anyone from our audience of doing this, but whatever. I just felt anonymity for this because someone tweeted at the person that tweeted this picture out, and he commented and he says, I've just seen the new cover of Detective Comics and I entirely loved it. Did you get inspired by Stranger Things? I mean it in a good way. It works so good, and I just saw the resemblance. Then he has a little emoji there himself, so good for him. He says, I love your new logo. So kind of fun little thing there, but the DC person then responded and said thanks, and he says we're both inspired by something much older, and then he has a picture there of an old Misery cover with the Stephen King font. So Detective Comics, we all know Stranger Things, obviously we knew that the font was straight from Stephen King, but yeah, look at the Detective Comics. Definitely looks like Stranger Things, but ultimately it's because both of them are sharing from the same DNA, which is classic Stephen King cover text. And I will admit too, I've actually found custom downloadable fonts online of this font.
Oh, really?
But I was going to use them in our slideshow even for the show, but Google does not let you pull in custom fonts.
Oh, really?
For anything. So yeah, otherwise all of our text would be in this font because it's a glorious font.
That font is, what's it called?
I don't remember off the top. It downloaded it like a year ago.
Okay.
I don't remember. But so kind of fun that the Detective Comics. I mean, because the other thing too is like, let's think about that. Stephen King, like he would have grown up reading Batman comics.
Yeah.
Like Batman's been around for 80 something years. Like that's an institution in American like pop culture. So for Stephen King, I don't know if he's actually seen this, but if he sees this, can you imagine knowing that like your cover art has inspired the new logo for Detective Comics?
The entire logo of Detective Comics has changed
Like,
to use the font that's on the cover of your novels.
Yeah, like that's got to be like it's kind of like, King's a fan of certain bands, and there's some of those bands that he's ended up working with. It's like, he's a huge fan of the Ramones, and they did like the Pet Sematary song. I got to feel that's really surreal for him to suddenly be like, oh, a band that I really love is doing a song based on my work. I feel like this has got to be the same way because, again, Batman's just such an old thing. Like my grandpa was probably reading a Batman comic at some point.
Yeah.
So just, I don't know, it's got to be surreal for King to see that if he does see that.
Agamorphy says, I can imagine DC fans getting ticked off by that change.
I mean, if they're going to be accepting of that stupid-ass DC logo they had for years where it looked like a fucking Band-Aid peeling off, if they're accepting of a logo that shitty, they shouldn't have a whole lot to complain about.
Yeah.
So, but let's go ahead and go to the...
Band-Aid peeling off.
That's what it looked like,
It's
dude.
so accurate. That's why it's funny.
Yeah, I remember when that first came out. That was my first thought. I'm like, oh, it's got fucking Band-Aid peeling. And I think they ended up holding that logo for a decade or more.
Yeah.
So this next thing, Dreamcasting's up on the screen. So Dreamcasting is something we did a while back. We haven't done it in a little while, but this is something I teased on social media. We're actually doing something new here.
We're going to revamp our Dreamcasting.
Yeah, we're going to revamp it, and it's actually based on an article. So an article came out and inspired what we're now going to what I want to see as a reoccurring segment. I can't say that we're going to do this every episode, but I do want to make this a regular thing for the Dreamcasting. But basically, the premise of it, and this isn't the entire premise of the guy's article, but the premise that I got inspiration from the article was basically just like if you're a Marvel fan, just say that Thanos snap, and then suddenly a certain Stephen King adaptation doesn't exist anymore, and then we're sitting here in 2022 or whatever year we're going to end up doing this. If we could be doing it next year or the year after, but in 2022, Thanos snap. That whole movie disappears from existence. It never existed. So now suddenly you have a brand new King, a King novel that's never been adapted before.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we're going to do, and then we're going to Dreamcast it as though it's going to be made today. And yeah,
it's the first time it's ever
been done. It doesn't exist. It hasn't existed. Whatever. So I think it's not going to work as well for newer stuff. Like I've thought about, like Dr. Sleep or The Stand. I mean, The Stand's been done a couple times, but like the most recent Stand is so new that it's like. Dreamcasting it now, it could be different, but it probably wouldn't be as different as like Carrie, again, even the other Carrie's 10 years ago almost now. So, but the original 1976, whatever. So that's the whole premise of the new Dreamcasting we're going to do. So it's not necessarily going to be just a one person and see where they fit. I think that was fun, but I don't think that was as long-term sustainable. We could still maybe bounce back to that occasionally, but what I really want to do is just look at different King things. Yeah. And the other thing we could probably do with this too is Dreamcast stuff that's never been done before. But yeah, this one, this article that inspired me though started off. Let's go ahead and.
There's a reason he got this sound clip.
And I will say, on my little.
Oh my gosh. So he has a little Steam Deck that he uses for the sound effects. You can actually program a picture into the button. He put the fucking shining carpet in there
as the button for that.
That's unreal. That's technology's great.
It is great. So this article is basically, and this is the title of the article is "Who Would We Cast If Stephen King's The Shining Was Made Today?" And this is by Chase Harrison from Horror Geek Life on June 24th, 2022. And so I text Peter yesterday and I told him my inspiration, what I took from this, and I just told him basically that we're going to basically go along and do this one. So I'm going to read this article. The slides on the screen are going to be from the articles, but Peter and I both have our own picks for this as well.
And we haven't talked about them.
No, we haven't talked about them together. So there's no slides. Future bound, we might talk about them a little bit so that we'll have slides for our own stuff. But for this time, we're going to let Chase's pick, since he inspired all this, to be the stuff on the screen. So Chase says casting is key. The right actor for the right role can make a film legendary. Anthony Hopkins' chilling turn as Hannibal Lecter, Sigourney Weaver's hero-defining role as Ellen Ripley, and Jack Nicholson's pure insanity for The Shining are all iconic. So what we're going to do, and he actually starts this way, and I'm glad he did because I probably wouldn't have thought of this. Not only are we going to do Dreamcasting, but we're also going to nab a director. And that's where we're going to start, is director. So anything I'm missing here, Mike says my pick would be Maximum Overdrive with sober Stephen King and modern technology and all the Skarsgårds in it. Cody says I hand over all my dream castings to Flanagan, the Duffer Brothers. Alan says I'm with Cody, mostly Flanagan, which, yeah. So, so basically the premise is The Shining doesn't exist anymore. It's only a book.
Yep.
Stephen King wrote the book in 1976, but it has never been or not 76. I'm sorry, 78. I think was. Let me pull up the list here. I think it was 76 was 76 was the Carrie movie. 74 was the Carrie book. Shining is 77. Okay.
And then 80 was the movie that no longer exists.
Yeah.
There was no miniseries.
Yep. So for this exercise, yeah, that movie never existed. So for some weird reason, one of the most iconic Stephen King books of all time has never been adapted here in 2022, and we are going to Dreamcast it, starting with the director. So let's go ahead and start with Chase's pick, and then you and I will both do ours. And then also in the chat, you guys, I mentioned in the tweet that I teased this, that there'll be definitely some interactive. Want you guys to play along. So director-wise, it sounds like some of you guys have already picked Mike Flanagan. But go ahead if you guys want to throw out directors who you're going to dream connect to this new project, this new Shining adaptation that we're inventing. But Chase, picks Ari Aster.
Oh, God.
He says the young director's first two feature films, Hereditary and Midsummer, have already proven Aster is a master of horror. He is well versed in presenting the undercurrent of pressures put upon by loved ones. Midsummer is a prime example of that skill, as is the Wicker Man-esque plot that was utilized well to mask a gut punch of a breakup film. Aster would know all the right notes to hit to show the Torrance family teetering at the mercy of their own external demons. He says the shot compositions of Aster's style could capture the confined bleakness of the Overlook's innards, paired with the vast nothingness of the snow-capped Rocky Mountains. He says, imagine the cinematography matching the beautiful green hills of Herga from Midsummer, but now with snow-capped blankets of white coating them. Which is true. That would be insane.
Yeah.
He says the house from Hereditary begins to feel claustrophobic, as claustrophobic as the miniature made by Toni Collette's character, which could bode well for the haunting throughout the Overlook halls, which is true. So what do you got for
this
director?
This is the one that I'm saying. I was telling Tad before we went live. I'm like, there's one on this list that we are both going to say the same thing, and I'm willing to bet like dinner on it. And I know that it's going to be director because we're both going to pick Mike Flanagan.
Okay, so you got Flanagan.
Absolutely. There is no one better to handle The Shining if it's never been done than Mike Flanagan.
Yeah. And I will say I actually went a different direction. And
You did not.
Because here's the thing. And I've tried as hard as I could, because I did see this guy's article, to try not to pick things that he picked. But I feel like I've gone on record multiple times on this show and to you personally in saying that Hereditary is the most Shining-esque movie that I've seen since The Shining came out in terms of Midsummer. Because, like, it's never dark. You know, like, it plays so anti-horror, right? Like, The Shining was that way. And I've said it multiple times. Ari Aster, what he did in Midsummer feels just like The Shining. Like, like there's only, like, 2 scenes that are at night, and nothing happens. Like, all the scary shit's during the day. It's bright. It's fucking colorful. Look at this frame that's on the screen now. So I'm picking Ari Aster with the caveat that I've been saying that since Midsummer came out, that movie feels so much like The Shining. And then not to mention, he is right. The stuff that is a little bit more of the fucking insane Overlook stuff is exactly what Hereditary, like the batshit nature of Hereditary. Some of the stuff that you saw in that third act of Hereditary, imagine that when he's playing out like the ghosts, you know, Wendy waking up and hearing balloons popping and, you know, party favors going off.
The elevator coming
the
down,
elevator,
opening,
like,
and there's
dude,
confetti.
He like the shit he did in Hereditary. I just feel like those two movies alone, just he's picture perfect. I agree with you with Flanagan. That was definitely my first thought, certainly. But dude, I've been pounding the drum for Ari Aster as just. And Midsummer is.
I'm actually disappointed in you.
I told you at the beginning. You said you were very certain. I says, I don't know, man. I tried as hard as I could to maybe not be as obvious on some of the stuff.
It doesn't need. It's not a bad thing.
No.
Obvious. Flanagan is the obvious choice.
And here's the other small reason I would have not picked Flanagan is because I don't know. Like, that's the weird thing in this weird thing that we're doing, because we're saying The Shining doesn't exist, but it's like, in a way, I almost feel like we've already seen his Shining. because he did such a good job of kind of doing what Kubrick didn't do with The Shining in his Dr. Sleep movie, that it's like, we've almost already kind of seen it. So I don't know. Again, all the stuff I've seen with Ari Aster, I tried as hard as I could, but yeah, ultimately for me it's Ari Aster. But to your credit, yes, the very first impression I thought when I thought this question was Mike Flanagan.
Mike says directed by Guillermo del Toro. Agaborfi says Flanagan, of course, directs. Danny is Jacob Tremblay. Jack is Jared Leto. Wendy, I have no idea. Dick, Ron Cephas Jones.
Yeah. And it's a note. Ron C. Jones plays Randall's dad in This Is Us, a very gentle soul kind of actor. Okay, so yeah. So there's a couple there. We're gonna go through this article, and we're gonna do all of ours. You guys, it's great though. Go ahead and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
To throw them out there, but Peter and I will keep ours for as we go through them
Yep.
here. I'm interested in your reactions to what he puts too. So first up, we're gonna do after directing.
Okay, I want to say Ari Aster's not a bad pick. He's not. Having seen Midsummer and recently just watched Hereditary for the first time.
Yeah.
Not a bad pick.
And even when I told you to watch Hereditary or Midsummer, didn't I tell you just no, it's not a traditional horror?
Yeah.
And I think I probably told you it's a lot like The Shining, because really when you watch The Shining, it's not a normal horror either. There's not dark scenes. There's no jump scares. It's very like Kubrick was just like, I know what horror is, but I'm going to do the complete opposite and still make a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I think Ari Aster did the same thing with Midsummer. Like, I would love to see an interview with him about Midsummer and see if he ever mentions Kubrick and The Shining, because I really feel like it might be kind of his tribute to The Shining without knowing if that's really the case. Vibe-wise, it feels like it is.
Gotcha.
I don't know. But yeah, so next up, we're going to start off with Jack Torrance. And again, the great thing about this dream casting is Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance doesn't exist, because the whole premise of this exercise is that movie never existed. So the great thing is this person will be able to step into that role with no baggage. So Chase does Jack Torrance. He says Sebastian Stan.
Okay.
And he says, right off the croquet mallet, this is aiming to be more of a book-accurate take on Jack Torrance than the crazy, eyebrowed, ready to murder his family at any second interpretation that Jack Nicholson brought to the table. And the other thing, too, I'll pause and say, I'm saying that we Thanos snapped the previous movie out. I don't think he's necessarily going by that. So he says, when reading the book, a strong through line through Jack's character is his deep desire to do better, only to succumb to his base needs. An alcoholic with a volatile temper, which has cost Jack nearly everything. Accepting the caretaker position at the isolated Overlook Hotel is the last straw. More tragic than horrific, Jack is struggling to do his best. He just isn't that good. Stan has shown across multiple genres that he has the required range in order to play the patriarch of the Torrance family. He is respected in the geek community for his excellent performance in the MCU as the Winter Soldier. Anyone questioning Stan's acting abilities can past being a superhero need to look no further than his turn as Jeff Galooly in the biopic I, Tonya, which, true, he did a brilliant job in that. The actor's unsettling performance captured the needed hair-trigger temper, perfect for Jack Torrance, added to his recent chilling turn in the Hulu's Fresh, and Stan is the perfect candidate to be the Overlook's caretaker forever and ever. So, not a bad pick, actually. See,
No.
the hard part for me is I had to look at this and then get inspired, and then I had to go and actually try to do these dream castings and not let his stuff bias me. But Jack Torrance-wise,
Mike says in the chat, Anson Mount as Jack, which is Black Bolt from Doctor Strange 2.
okay.
So,
Okay.
just give you a reference of who that is.
Did you look up Ron Cephas Jones? Because he mentioned This Is Us, but I'm not familiar with that. I don't know if there's anything else I would recognize him in.
Let me look him up real fast.
Okay. And then, of course, we're to our turn for doing Mr. Torrance. And again, I guess the other thing, while Peter's looking that up, the other thing I wanted to mention is the whole premise of this, too, is not necessarily to get too deep into things like, is this going to be a film or a miniseries, or talking about, like, the execution of, like, how things are filmed or whatever. This is more of just coming down to straight-up dreamcasting a story based on modern-day people and pretending the old stuff doesn't exist. So
He's a veteran of Stephen King. He's in Lizzie's Story.
okay.
He's also in Luke Cage as Bobby Fischer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Mr. Robot as Romero.
Okay. Yeah.
I know you've watched Mr. Robot. I haven't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just
So.
definitely one. I just didn't have the name connected to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you got for
I think you should go first for Jack. I went first for director.
All right. So my Jack Torrance is one that I just was talking about, I think, at work recently, about someone that's pretty much in everything he does, even if it's a shitty movie, he does a good job.
Okay.
And it's Oscar Isaac.
Oh, God, that's a good one.
So, yeah, I want Oscar Isaac as
Yeah.
my Jack Torrance.
We just saw how we could play with, like, mental illness and stuff like that with Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Having
But it's just
multiple personalities and everything.
Yeah, he's just been
Yeah.
in so much stuff over the last, like, 10 years, and just he's across the gamut. He's done all kinds of stuff. So, and I just think he's done incredible. There's even been sometimes he's done some really shitty movies that he's done incredible himself. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm going to pick Mr. Oscar Isaac as my Jack Torrance.
That's a good one.
What about you?
Zac Efron.
Okay, all right, yeah,
Not because of Firestarter.
He's been doing a lot of good
I
stuff
will say,
recently.
simply put, if you haven't seen Zac Efron's Netflix Ted Bundy,
Yeah,
that is Jack in a nutshell. The real life Jack Torrance is Ted Bundy.
yeah,
The guy who looks all perfect and normal, and he's the perfect husband and everything like that.
yeah,
But then that switch flips and everything like that, and he just, oh my God, it instantly comes to my mind for that. I also did aside from director, every single one of these almost has multiple that I like honorable mention.
Okay,
Um,
I didn't do any of that, but go ahead.
I sorry.
No, it's
I
all
just
right.
basically made a list, and then I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to narrow this down. I think all of these would be good. I think Daniel Radcliffe would make an amazing father figure now,
Yeah,
and he's shown the acting chops in some of his other stuff aside from
yeah.
Harry Potter that he could do the madness as well.
yeah,
Also, it'd give a little bit of British spin on it. He doesn't have to be American. You know that okay.
yeah. British can go American. Americans can't go British.
This is true. Another one, Robert Pattinson.
Okay,
Because him as Batman, like the dark brooding and stuff like that, I think that would be a really good.
and he's done a shitload of
He's done
movies.
The Lighthouse. I've heard
Lighthouse,
nothing
yeah.
but good things about.
He's done
that.
a lot of indie stuff. Same
Yeah.
as Daniel Radcliffe. Both those guys have done a lot of independent stuff since they did their big things early in their life. So
This next one, I will admit, it was influenced by my wife simply because she was watching Parks and Rec. Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt, I don't know. That'd be a tough
he
one.
Seems like such a
He's too
goofball,
funny.
But some of his later stuff, he has a new series coming out on Amazon Prime where it's the I've been wronged. I'm going to go Jack Reacher on your ass, and I'm going to check everyone off my list, and I'm going to kill them all.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I only saw the trailer, but I was like, Chris, showing some acting
Okay.
chops. All right, I'll take that.
If we want to go like a little bit crazy in that realm, I'm going to go Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd would be unbelievable.
Could you imagine Paul Rudd
That
playing
would
Jack?
be unreal because I know he can do it. I
Yeah.
know he can do
Yeah.
it. He's talented as fuck.
Yeah.
He absolutely could do it. And that is one of the things with The Shining is that it's not the Jack Nicholson. I know we're supposed to be Thanos snapping it, but it's the thing that we've always talked about with Jack Nicholson. He's
Yeah.
crazy to start with,
Yeah.
you know? And someone said someone in the chat, and that's instantly what I thought of, but I was waiting. Oh, Jared Leto. Like, the thing with Jared Leto, my one critique of Jared Leto, the dude's batshit crazy already. You want someone who looks normal, who is a good father,
And that's
who has his
that's where
problems,
I pick.
who descends into madness.
That's why I would say Paul Rudd is because he just
Exactly.
seems so normal. And
Exactly.
again, my ultimate pick is Oscar Isaac. But yeah, for an
No,
honorable
but
mention, I'll throw
Oscar Isaac could play that dad.
Yeah.
Who's a loving dad who has a problem, who needs help, who's not getting it, who
Yeah.
descends into madness because the overlook is affecting him so well. I think the same thing for Chris Pratt. He would be such a good father-ish figure. I mean, I've seen the pictures of him with his son and everything like that.
Yeah.
The other one is along the same veins as Chris Pratt, but he has done serious roles, and I think he's been fantastic in them. And that's John Krasinski.
Okay. Yeah.
Because him in Quiet Place
Yeah.
was unreal.
Yeah.
If you went back and told Peter, who watched The Office for the first time, that guy's going to play in a horror movie that's going to make you all basically cry
Yeah.
with his sacrifice and everything like that, his serious role, I'd be
Yeah.
like, dude, get the hell out of here. Jim can never be a serious actor.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So-
It's true. He also is the newest Jack Ryan too.
That's right. I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah. The first season was really good. The second season wasn't as good, but it's still worth a watch. Alan says it's very hard not to think of Jack Nicholson, which it's true.
Oh, yeah.
But ultimately, yeah, I think that the funnest part about this long term is to try not to be too influenced by previous things. So
Mike also said Anson Mount was in Hell on Wheels. I didn't mention that one because I didn't think you had watched that.
no, I have not.
That's what I was. Sorry, Mike. I wasn't ignoring you. I was just trying to get things that I know Tad had seen.
Yeah.
So.
It's funny. I do the same thing to you when I'm
Yes, you do.
when I'm doing that kind of stuff. So next up, we've got Wendy Torrance and Chase. His pick is genius, and I wish I could have done it, but since he did it, I didn't do it. And it's Elizabeth Moss.
I still haven't watched Invisible Man.
Okay, you really need to. Man.
Okay.
That's a fucking great one. But she's awesome. I love her from Mad Men and stuff. She's just a great actor. And he says the Wendy Torrance character has an unfairly acquired bad rep, though much of that is due to which version of the character the audience knows. People will watch the movie sooner than read the book. Or let's see, people will watch a movie sooner than read a book. Most audiences know Shelley Duvall's timid, whimpering interpretation of the character rather than the tired woman on her last leg trying to hold her quickly crumbling family together. Wendy is a rock against the waves, a mother shielding her young child from the real horrors, his drunk, abusive father who Danny sadly adores. The test of time would served Duvall's work well, finding proper credit in recent years. The power of Elizabeth Moss's eyes to emote is next to none, with the actress's ability to go from seething to sorrow in a second. While primarily known for television star with award-winning turns on AMC's Mad Men and Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale, Moss is no stranger to the horror genre and appeared in Jordan Peele's sophomore picture Us in 2019 and headlined the stellar 2020 modern reimagining of H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man. Furiously fighting through fright is an attribute exhibited well throughout Moss's filmography. Her take on Wendy would be another highlight among them. And I agree, man. I was so pissed when I read that because I'm like, I probably wouldn't have thought of it myself unless I really racked my brain. Like if I had like a couple weeks to come up with this, I may have come up with her. But like the second I read him say that, I'm just like, motherfucker, that is so good. Like she's great. So
Mike says redo Arya as Wendy. Rito is Lila from Umbrella Academy. I've never watched Umbrella Academy. I don't think you have either.
I have not.
Unfortunately, I don't think she's in anything that you've seen, but I know her from Red Notice, the movie with The Rock and Ryan Reynolds on Netflix.
Okay, I'm looking her up here. All right. I don't know if I know her from anything necessarily. But
she has a very short filmography. Looks like she's been in a couple episodes and then a couple movies. That's it. And then she's been in Humans, Doctors, The Good Karma Hospital, Sticks and Stones, and Feel Good, and then The Umbrella Academy, obviously, is the big one.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Yeah, that's awesome. So what do you got for Wendy?
For Wendy,
Wendy,
again, I have
of my life.
Yeah. Again, I have multiple, but my top choice would be Margot Robbie.
Okay.
I think that we've seen her be strong in a lot of roles. I would like to see her play the victim. I'd like to see her be the.
But she's strong. She'd be like a strong victim, then.
Right?
Right.
And that's one of the things that it was hard for me. I went back and forth between two actresses, and I'll do the rest of my list after you do yours.
Okay.
But
your
I went
honorable
back.
Mentions.
Yeah, my honorable mentions. I went back and forth between her and one other one as my top. I actually ended up changing it right before we started this.
Okay.
So. But I think Margot Robbie, because Wendy has the strength in the book, that I want to see on film.
Yeah,
I think the stuff that I've seen Margot Robbie in, Wolf of Wall Street, her portrayal of Harley Quinn and everything. I, Tonya. I think she could really play the. No, you're not gonna fuck with my kid.
Yeah.
Like fuck you. You're not gonna hurt my kid ever again. Kind of. Thing. You know, not the timid. You know. Scared person, but still scared as hell.
Yeah.
So that's why I picked Margot Robbie.
Okay. So for me, there may have already been a few hints throughout the show, but I'm going Toni Collette.
Yeah.
I mean, she should have won an Oscar for God's sake for Hereditary. So I'm taking her as Wendy. I think that'd be incredible.
She'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, but she's good in everything. She's kind of like Oscar Isaac, I guess. She's kind of one of those. Some of these I just like. whatever. But yeah, I thought of her pretty quickly, and I was just like, yeah, there's no beating that. So, and then earlier we talked about there was that one article that they used the header was Toni Collette from Hereditary. So there's been a few Hereditary mentions this episode too, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna pick Toni Collette as my Wendy. So yeah, I think that would be my picks for Wendy is Toni.
Gotcha. So my honorable mention, the one that was like really close with Margot Robbie, is Elizabeth Olsen. We just saw what she could do in Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah.
I think she would just be absolutely phenomenal as Wendy.
Yeah.
I think she would just be so great. The next three popped into my head because the thing for me is I didn't want to get Gal Gadot crossed my mind. Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah.
But for me, God, she's such a physical presence. She's so big and so tall and so. I can't think of a better way of describing it, such as presence.
Yeah, she just tied Jack into a knot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you cast 1980s Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Exactly, and you'd have to get some big buff dude, like The Rock would have to play Jack, and it's just like no.
And let's not do that.
No, so I started thinking of actresses that were a little bit more smaller and petite and stuff like that. And these next three just popped into my head when I was thinking about that. Emilia Clarke, Daenerys from Game of Thrones. Anna Kendrick has been in a ton of stuff. Do you know Anna Kendrick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Emily Blunt.
Okay.
So all three of them kind of crossed my mind, but I got to go with Margot Robbie.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I didn't really think too much. I think for me, most of these were like self-evident enough that I didn't go like my normal route where usually I'd make like a list of 5 or 6 and then narrow it down. This one, I just felt like most of these, they came to me pretty quickly, and it was just like no debating in my mind. So
I just started making a list as soon as you started texting me. I literally put director, Jack, Wendy, Danny, and Lloyd. I put those ones down, and I just started listing actors, the first ones that popped into my head.
Yeah.
And then I went back, and I was like, oh, I should take some of these off. And then I went, but why? But why?
Yeah. All right, so next up, we've got big role is Danny Torrance, and Chase has Julian Hillard. That poor bastard. He maybe doesn't have Jake level of whatever if Julian Hillard, all of his roles would have been one person, that's a shitty life.
Yeah,
because he's had some bad ones, including that one that's on the picture there from Haunting of Hill House. That's when he gets lowered into the cellar, and that fucking creature is down there.
That's who he is.
That's one of the scariest fucking scenes in that show, dude. With that like dumb waiter, and he gets lowered down.
Yeah. Agamorphy nailed it with Jacob Tremblay, is what Mike says. I'm trying to remember Jacob.
Baseball boy.
Oh God.
Which brings me joy to say that and just remind you of that scene. Yeah, Baseball Boy, Room. I'm trying to think of some of the other. He's done a number of things now. But Chase says, a young, powerful psychic, still not fully aware of his gifts he possesses. Danny Torrance is one of King's most fascinating characters. All of 5 years old in the book, Danny's houses a noticeably wariness for someone so young, formally by sensing his parents' internal strife. While living in the Overlook, Danny experiences terrifying visions of various evil spirits that want the immense power that he has. The ghost sense that the world soon learns. No one shines brighter than Danny Torrance. In just 6 short years of his 9-year life, Julian Hillard has racked up an impressive resume with genre works, but only in the supporting category with impressive turns in Netflix's smash horror hit The Haunting of Hill House, 2021's The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. The kid has proven to be being around the spooky and scary stuff doesn't affect him. Also being one of the Scarlet Witch's kids in WandaVision certainly doesn't hurt things.
Shit, he is, isn't he?
Yeah, The Shining would be an excellent opportunity for Hillard to go from supporting to a leading role and staying in the horror genre. So, not a bad pick. Kind of another one of those ones for me. It was a little bit tough to not think of him, because the other thing that's hard too is there's not a lot of actors that are in the actual Danny age. You have to. I feel like you have to go 5 to 10.
Okay, see, that's my problem. Is I was looking for someone who's 5 years old, and I couldn't name a single actor that's young.
That's tough.
So I didn't come up with one for Danny, because I'm like, well, you're just gonna have to find a kid that's age. That's 5 to 6 years old.
Yeah,
I didn't think about aging him up and picking one, a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old.
Yeah,
I was thinking a 5-year-old. So I legit could not.
You
name
didn't
a
get one?
No, I couldn't name a single 5-year-old actor.
Okay.
I'm
So
sorry.
I did go aging up, and I don't know if anyone will Americanize his name, but it's Carlos S. Sanchez. And the reason I thought of him is because I was thinking of Oscar Isaac being his dad. He is the young Oscar Isaac character in Moon Knight. The one that there's a flashback.
Oh, okay.
There's some flashback scenes that shows him going through some of the early trauma, and this little kid plays that really well.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that came to my mind because, yeah, that's probably the hardest one to do because, yeah, Stephen King generally goes a little bit more 10 to 15-year-old for kids, but Danny's an outlier. Danny's like 5, and, yeah, that's tough. But and even like Mr. Tremblay, that's a great pick. But yeah, I think now he's probably in the 12 to 15 range. Again, it's not a bad thing. You can always age him up, I guess.
See, that's what I was trying to avoid. Is I know that Danny's supposed to be a young child,
and that's
so.
that's really hard though. That's especially now in the COVID years.
Yeah,
it's just like who have we all seen that's in that age group? So
exactly,
it's definitely that's a tough one for sure. But yeah. Anything else I missed in the chat? Tremblay is definitely one that I did think of too, but I was just trying to go a little bit younger if I could. And I don't even know with Carlos Sanchez, he may actually be a little bit. He may be older than I'm thinking anyway. Either way, I think that that's probably the toughest one to cast.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sorry I didn't come up with think about. I should have wrote you a text you and been like, dude, what are we doing for Danny? Like, are we aging up or?
Yeah.
I honestly thought about it. I'm like, no, he's got to be young. Like, that's the whole point, is that he's like young and vulnerable. You can't have a 12-year-old running around the Overlook.
I think 5 to 10's close enough in my mind that it's not that big a deal to go from 5 to 10 because, like, I don't know that because like Julian Hillard is what he picked, and that he's closer to the 10-year-old range, and like that.
He was when he was in Haunting of Hill House, but now he's not. It's been a couple years since Haunting of Hill House.
Well, the way that this guy wrote it, it sounded like it said he's been acting for 6 of his 9 years of life. So, and that's when this article is written. So, yeah, I would imagine he's around 9 from what this is saying, but who knows? But next up, Chase goes to.
He is 11.
Okay.
Born in 2011 June, so he's 11 years old now.
Yeah. So
but he does look younger.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, we make fun of like the 20-year-olds playing like high school kids, but sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's just ones that look young enough to pull different ages. In fact, a lot of actors that won't even give their age, they'll just give like an age range that they can play, like what they can kind of pass for, right?
Yeah. Paul Rudd could pass for a high schooler.
Yeah. Paul Rudd's is like 18 to 50.
Yeah.
Like anywhere in there, I could work whatever.
Man.
Next up is Dick Halloran. And Chase has a really good pick, Forrest Whitaker.
Oh, Forrest would be good.
That'd be a good one. He says, head chef at the Overlook Hotel. Halloran is a character steeped in the Stephen King lore. First appearing in The Shining, he features in flashbacks within the 1986 novel It. Yet another King masterpiece. The role is something of a teacher for young Danny. Halloran's B-plot struggle to reach the Overlook during a blizzard after receiving Danny's psychic cries for help serve as a perfect tension break for the vice-like grip of the Overlook Hotel. The master of subtlety, Whitaker is an actor who understands the gravity of the slightest gesture. From a faint grimace to weighted head nods, the actor speaks levels with very little. Halloran, who also has the ability to shine, senses the evil housed in the Overlook, is dancing around its influence, but it takes its toll. Whitaker would be so eloquently give the nurturing, weathered air to Halloran, who also picks up on Danny's power and means to warn the boy of what's in store for him. Whitaker building intensity to the 2002 Panic Room would match well with his rescue mission. So. Yeah, that is a great pick.
It is a good one.
Again, it's hard for me when I'm reading this. In the future, I'm going to be glad to just go to something and not have an article. Because, like, again, there's one of those ones, if I would have thought of Whitaker and this didn't exist, I probably would have picked him too. That's a good one. That's a great pick.
Mike says in the chat, I always say his first
Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo Esposito. See, but the problem
it's Esposito.
Esposito.
So I was listening to like the Better Call Saul podcast, and somebody said it that way, and they've never said it. They've always said Esposito, and he's like Esposito, and everyone's like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I talked to Giancarlo. He told me that's how you actually pronounce it. So Esposito. Yeah, Esposito.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but the one problem with that one is he's not a bad guy. He has to be a bad guy.
No, Gus is pretty good when he's acting good. Like, if you don't understand,
he's always been a bad guy.
No, you don't understand his levels in Breaking Bad until the box cutter. Before that, you understand, like, yeah, he may be running a criminal empire, but he never comes off as like until that scene. Then it's like, oh shit, this is a completely different character than what I
He wants
thought.
to kill Baby Yoda.
Yeah,
Bad guy.
I don't know. I mean, freaking Ted Lasso punched Baby Yoda.
I know
So.
that blows my mind. That blew my mind when you told me that the other day. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No,
That's
Giancarlo,
that's a great.
That's a great pick. Giancarlo is a very talented actor for sure. What do you got for Mr. Halloran?
It's your turn to go first.
All right. Let me go over my list here. So this one people might laugh at just right off the bat, but I'm going Samuel L. Jackson.
Motherfucker, I thought about him.
So-
I thought about him. I thought about Jamie Foxx.
Because with Samuel L. Jackson, yes, there's times that he's very loud or whatever, but there's also the times he's more reserved, and that's what I would want for him in this. And also, he's a Stephen King alum. I just feel like there's something about bringing Sammy in that's like...
the
great.
guy from 1408. Yeah.
1408. He also Cell, and also they one of the two guys that were adapting Revival was talking to him about it, and they had to he basically turned him down because they couldn't pay him enough. So, but I would pick Samuel L. Jackson. I think that'd be kind of a cool role for him. I don't know. Yeah. So that's who I picked.
I have Andre Brower, Captain Holt.
Yeah. And Stephen King alum.
Stephen King
from
alum
The Mist.
from The Mist. Exactly. That's why he popped instantly into my head. Is I wanted a distinguished older gentleman who could play a chef. That's the first thing that I thought of, is which actor do I see being a little bit older, looking the part, but I could see him making a damn good filet mignon or baked salmon or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, Captain Holt instantly popped into my mind.
Yeah.
Brower is distinguished gentleman-ish type. I could easily see him sliding behind the wheel of a Cadillac with a little boy being like, you got a shine on you.
Yeah.
The other one that I thought of is along the lines of Forrest Whitaker and Samuel L. Jackson, kind of like action stars, but starting to get a little bit more mature where you could see them being a mentor, is Denzel Washington.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
If you want someone who's actually going to have some, like, especially if we're following the book very closely, the battle with the topiaries and everything like that,
Yeah.
that's where I'm thinking, like, you have someone like Denzel, like the actions parts of Dick that we want to see.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the other thing to mind, I didn't think about this till just now, is for me, the other plus for mine is we get I'm tired of these motherfucking ghosts in this motherfucking hotel.
What the best part that it would be is if like a waitress or a kitchen attendant walked up to him and was like, "Sir, where do you want me to put the potatoes?" "Man, I'm sick of these motherfucking potatoes," or something like that. Just a little slip right there in front of the family, just to give us like, there he is.
Oh man, yeah. So I'm going Sammy J. I think that'd be a fun one. Like I said, I think some people though, because I think there's some element of him that's like almost more kind of he's almost in some ways, and I think he plays into it, which is fine, becoming kind of a parody of himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Like the loud, brash, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like he's not always that way. So
No.
I would be casting him for that reason. If you look past like the stereotypical Sammy J, I think that he would do a good job. So
Go ahead. Cody's got one for you.
okay. Jason Sudeikis as Dick, a la Ted Lasso. I mean, I don't know if that would work.
Ted Lasso being the teacher.
Yeah, I do love
pretty good coach.
I do love Ted Lasso.
Sorry, pretty good football manager. You got to
Yeah.
get the terminology right.
And hello, Chris. Chris is joining us. It's
Yeah.
probably first thing in the morning over there, down under. But Chris, yeah. So what we're doing, we have an article here, but this is actually sparking a whole new thing that we're going to be doing. And the whole premise of it, the article, the guy is just doing dreamcasting The Shining in the modern day. But what our new thing we're doing is we're basically pretending that Thanos snapped and erased the old version of any adaptation that we choose. Yep. We're going to start with we're kind of going parallel with this guy's article, and the whole idea is the suddenly whatever one we pick, whether it's this case it's The Shining, but next time it could be The Dead Zone or it could be anything.
Yep.
We just pretend the old one never existed and we cast it as though it's being adapted for the first time.
Exactly.
So that's what we're in the middle of as a reminder for people that have been here. Chris joining us new or anyone that may be popping in now.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. Where did we leave off?
Dick Halloran.
Dick. So do you listed yours.
Yep.
Do you have any other follow-ups?
Nope, just those two.
Okay. So yeah, let's go on over to the next one. James Earl Jones, Cody says.
Oh,
I mean, the voice is so good. He would just like
Oh.
all the ghosts would
I just
be
don't know
vacated out of the hotel.
I just don't know
he would
how
just
he
be like,
could do.
"Get the fuck out,"
Yeah.
and then the hotel would be cleansed because
he just does the Amityville horror. Get out.
he's got the voice of God.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you
No,
were
that's Morgan Freeman.
no, it's Samuel or it's James Earl Jones.
I'm just saying, Bruce Almighty, Morgan Freeman plays God. So
Yeah, but if I was doing any kind of film, it'd be and then somebody's like talking to guy, oh, you sound like James Earl Jones. Like, well, what other voice do you think I would pick? It's the greatest voice of all time.
yeah,
So that's a good one. I do like James. I mean, he's a little bit older now
he's
than
very old. He's,
in
his 90s.
Yeah, he's in his 90s, but still,
he's
could
out
do
there wrestling hedge animals.
He's just doing like the voice thing, and it just like annihilates the topiaries.
Yeah.
He just yells and they blow up. So this next one is I kind of warned you that there may be some gender bending and stuff or whatever, and this is where he gets into it. Is with Ullman. He goes Mrs. Ullman or Ms. Ullman actually.
Oh, okay.
And he goes Jamie Lee Curtis,
Okay.
which is brilliant.
That's really good.
That is-
First one that pops in my head. If you're gonna gender swap Ullman, Courtney Cox.
Okay,
That one just instantly popped into my head right there. She's played a hard ass before in a couple things as well as
Yeah.
like an Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and everything, and Friends, obviously.
Yeah.
But she plays a real hard ass in Scrubs, and I could see her being like "Hey, this is my hotel. You're not gonna fuck it up."
Yeah. This is a great one. I'm an adorer of Jamie Lee Curtis, have been for most of my life. It says the overseer of the Overlook, Ullman, is a small but menacing role of the on-season manager of the hotel. The final hurdle for Jack getting the caretaker gig, Ullman takes the interview to browbeat Torrance, believing with his drunkard past that he is unfit for the job. The one scene interaction is where the heavy hitters can be brought in. Although written as a male, why not swap the gender and bring in Jamie Lee Curtis? Curtis is perfect for the role with this with a stream of horror credits that have just come off and has just come off a curmudgeon office worker role in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is genius as well.
That's the
Multiverse.
kind of movie
Yeah.
you were saying is the best one ever, right?
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's so far it's probably still my favorite movie of the year for 2022.
Wow.
So, did you do Ullman?
I did.
Okay, so what do you got for Ullman?
Ullman, I did. Okay, my wife corrected me on this, and I'm going to say his name wrong. Ray Fiennes.
Okay, Ray Fiennes.
Ray
yeah.
Fiennes is how you say it.
Yeah, I think so. It's
M-
basically Ralph, but
M-
no L.
Yeah, M from the newer Bonds.
From the newer Bonds. He's
Yeah.
the
Voldemort in
the-
Harry Potter.
He's the main Nazi in Schindler's List. He's the Red Dragon in
Yeah.
Red Dragon.
Yeah, I think he would give such a distinguished.
Yeah,
nature.
he'd come off of that posh.
that posh
prick.
that prickish, absolutely just like
Yeah.
perfect guy for this is my hotel. You're not gonna fuck it up. You're gonna do what I say, and you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
I absolutely could get that.
Yeah, but
across.
he'd have to have like the British accent and just
Oh,
be
yeah,
totally
exactly,
pompous
right?
and stuff. Yeah, like he'd
Yeah.
like drink and he'd have his finger
He'd
out
have his
and
finger out.
stuff.
He'd be sipping. Can I get you a glass of tea? No, that's especially the thing that I was picturing is imagine Zac Efron being like, no, I don't drink tea, and him just like, like being offended. I wrote that scene in my head, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this is gonna be good.
And he would just have like a huh. He was like when Jackson no, he'd just be like and that would be it.
Yep.
Like, yeah, that could definitely work. He's definitely played a lot of villainous characters, as we just highlighted. Mike says Jason Statham as Charles Grady, and then he says wrong one. It's all good. Keanu Reeves as Stuart Ullman. That'd be an interesting turn because have we ever really seen him try anything a little bit more? I feel like he's always very likable. But the thing is, I think he's grown a lot as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like that would actually be interesting to see him play someone kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Cody says Matrix, John Wick, and Bill and Ted, Constantine. Yeah, he's got a lot in his career.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever really seen him play an unlikable character too much. That'd be interesting.
He's always such a nice guy.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And then Chris also says Everything Everywhere All at Once, the best film I've seen in probably 10 years. Jamie Lee Curtis is brilliant in it. Yeah, I can't recommend the movie highly enough. It's a great movie.
I need to see it.
I really loved it. It's coming out on disc here very soon. I think I pre-ordered it, so can't wait for it.
Sweet.
Can't wait to see it again. But yeah, so for me, my Ullman,
Okay.
I went with Stephen Root. He is most people are probably going to know him as the Stapler guy from Office Space. He voiced Bill Dauterive in King of the Hill.
Yeah.
But on the serious side, he's been in a number of the Coen
Yeah.
brothers movies. The one that really jumped to mind was he is the office worker that hires the people in No Country for Old Men.
Sure.
And then I think it's Woody Harrelson that comes to his, or is it freaking Javier Bardem? One of the people comes to his office, and it is Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
And he just talks to him about hiring Anton Chigurh and stuff, and he's
Yeah.
just like, whatever. And he's like, oh, you're missing a floor on your building, like, because he counted on from the street and the elevator, like, whatever. And Stephen Root just plays this, like, whatever. And I just felt that. And he's just a genius actor, too.
Yeah.
A lot of people know him for more of the comedic stuff, but he's done some
He's
good,
also- yes,
good
he is.
turns for the Coen brothers, and I
Yes.
think he'd be a really good
Mike,
actor.
he is also in Dodgeball. That is correct.
Yeah, so I picked Stephen Root. I actually almost picked him as Grady, but I moved him to Ullman because I just think that he would pull it off.
That
and
posh,
and I don't
arrogant is the word.
I don't think that
like,
he'd have
yeah.
the same like prissy like Ray Fiennes, but I think he would have kind of that. He would have that judgmental,
Oh, yeah.
and he'd have something in his voice that would just be like almost like a disdain, like in the undertone of his voice. There's just be a disdain
he's that
for him.
boss that you see him coming and you're just like, ugh.
Yeah,
Here
yeah.
we go.
Yeah, so I picked Stephen Root for Mr. Ullman because, and I'll also say as a pause right here because we did just talk about Ullman for Chase's, the guy that did the article, gender bended at Jamie Lee Curtis. I will say the gender bend I almost did Danny.
Oh, you almost made it. That would be good, making it a little girl.
And one of the thoughts I had was young Leia from the Obi-Wan
oh,
series.
hell yeah.
So that was I was close, but I'm like, you know what honestly stopped me, and I know maybe we shouldn't have because we were saying the movie doesn't exist, but I'm like, but Dr. Sleep still kind of does, and like, how does that?
Yeah.
So like, there was part of me I'm just like, let me just keep it simple and keep whatever. But I was thinking
Instead of,
to potentially,
it still stays as Danny, but it's Danielle.
it could Danny's a girl's name
Yeah.
too, so just make it an I instead of a Y. And
Yeah, it's
Danny.
It's short for Danielle. Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So next up, he's got.
I got 3 honorable mentions for Ullman.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Rob Lowe, even though he doesn't look older than 25, guy's a vampire. But then again, a vampire is what you would expect managing the hotel.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true. That's true.
Your boy, Gary Oldman.
Don't tempt me.
Dude, Gary Oldman in a tux, running a hotel, berating someone across a desk who's going to be his caretaker.
You can't say this too much with many actors, but with him, I would say, I wonder what voice he would use.
Exactly. It would be great to see what he does with it. And the other one, and this one you're going to get, but a lot of people aren't going to, David Schwimmer.
Okay.
Sobel from Band of Brothers.
From Band of Brothers, yeah. Because he wasn't even, what TV show was he in? That's
Friends.
I was going to say, yeah, he's been ruined by a lot of people because
He's
of that.
ruined.
but-
Everyone just sees him as Ross from Friends, but I'll tell you
He-
now, go watch the first episode of Band of Brothers if you don't know
And-
about Sobel.
You know what his would be is like he would be very grating. Mm-hmm. So like I think we're talking about all these different like undesirable elements of
Exactly.
Ullman, and these different actors have different elements.
Exactly.
His would just be very fucking grating. His voice would drive you like to want to punch him.
He seems like someone who got the job because his brother knows someone.
Yeah.
And then he belittles someone who knows someone who's asking for the job and everything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But he's better than him anyways because he's the manager of the hotel. Exactly.
Yeah.
He could rub people the wrong way. And he was only being it for a couple minutes, couple scenes.
Yeah.
And it would just be a perfect small role. He did great as Sobel. I remember watching Band of Brothers and being like, what the hell is Ross doing in an army picture? An army
What's
series.
the meme? That's the thing. You don't watch Friends, then it doesn't.
Then it doesn't matter to you. Yeah. But he's the line that sticks with me from Band of Brothers is what Nixon says. Do you know a man who went double time curry? He ate the mountain next to the camp in full pack just to piss in that man's coffee. That's the
Yeah.
kind of boss he'd be. Exactly.
Yeah, indeed. And anyone can throw any of these out too, like we're with Ullman or any of these others as we're going in the chat. Because I do think long term as we do this, we're not always going to have an article to go with. We would love to have your guys' input too in terms of if you guys have any ideas for modern castings for any of these roles.
Yeah.
So next up, we got Lloyd, the bartender, which again we just mentioned the original. Just passed away,
Oh.
unfortunately. But again, we're assuming that movie doesn't exist for the sake of this argument. But his pick, Mr. Chase picks Michael Shannon, which is a fucking genius pick too.
Okay.
Michael Shannon is another one of those ones that I don't know that
Oh.
he's never done a bad role. Like he's maybe been in some bad movies or shows or whatever, but I don't think he's ever been a bad actor with anything he's ever done.
Mike says Woody Harrelson as Lloyd.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay, yeah, that is good. You also know Michael Shannon from Waco.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so Michael Shannon is one of the greatest working actors
he's
today.
The negotiator.
Yeah, and he says able to make mountains out of any molehill of a role. While not a prominent part, Lloyd the bartender is an important one, serving as a hook of the Overlook, baited with booze. The first ghostly apparition Jack encounters, and when Jack begins to drink the imaginary medicine of the Overlook, that the place truly sinks its hooks into him. Imagine Shannon's delivery of the haunting line, "Your money's no good here," orders of the house, while pushing a chilled glass of rye with a friendly yet stern, crooked smile. Shannon could very well steal the whole show. For further proof of the actor's power to dominate with one scene, check out Sidney Lumet's final film, 2007's Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. So another reference from him. So, or another referral as to why. But Michael Shannon's one of those ones, man. Put him in everything pretty much. So again, it's one of those ones though that once I saw it, I'm just like, it's so perfect, but I'm not going to take that same thing because he did it. So what do you got for Lloyd?
This one I only did one because the casting is just so goddamn perfect that I'm not even gonna add honorable mentions. Bill Skarsgård.
Okay.
Dude, put him behind there all dressed up, pouring a drink, and then as they're talking one time that eye just goes
eye drift.
And he's just like, "Something wrong with your eye? Sir, I don't know what you mean." And then that smile, he just smiles at him. Dude, having him play Pennywise on top of that would just be like, the connections would be like, "Oh my God, it's Pennywise."
He's the kid in Castle Rock too.
Yeah, he's the kid in Castle Rock. Just having him be like, "Oh my God, he's Pennywise. He's at the Overlook. Oh my God, it's connected."
What is it, Barbarian? That trailer we saw with the black phone with him. Yeah, he's creepy for sure.
Exactly.
But he could play normal too.
He could play just a normal dude in a suit serving you a nice Jack and Coke, kind of thing. And here's 3 fingers of whiskey, and yes, sir, women, right? Can't live with them. Can't live without them. And
yeah, Mike, I do like Woody Harrelson pick too.
Woody Harrelson would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I could see that one.
I just don't know if Woody could shut up enough. I love Woody Harrelson though.
So mine, some people may take this and think I'm just mimicking the previous Shining version a little bit because of looks, but it's really not. And I'm going Steve Buscemi.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And the main reason is he plays a big part in The Sopranos, one season of The Sopranos.
Oh, is he in it?
But then later on down the way after he's kind of done, there's a scene where Sopranos got kind of weird toward the end. There's not constant, but there was a couple episodes at a time they would do they do like an episode here and there where it was just like something really fucking batshit. Like dreams, like a whole episode will be in a dream and it's all really fucking out there stuff. And some people hated those episodes, but I loved them. And there's one where Soprano is in the hospital and he's like on the verge of death, like something happened to him. And Buscemi is a person that's related to him blood-wise, but he's not in the show anymore. But he's there as this unknown entity, but whatever. And he's constantly trying to like guide him towards like the light type thing. And he just plays his I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Just the whole turn in that one episode. Anyone that's watched the whole run of The Sopranos will know which episode I'm talking about. It's one of my favorite episodes of the show. And he's nothing like that earlier in the show when he's just a normal, real character. But in that one weird ass fucking out there character, and Tony Soprano's like in the hospital on the verge of death, like Buscemi plays just a fucking weird because he has like a suitcase too, and at one point he's gonna like go into this house, but Buscemi won't let him take the suitcase. Oh no, we don't allow those kind of things here. And just so eerie and sinister. I could totally see
he's the serial killer in Con Air, right?
Yeah
Really creepy in that. That's what I always remember him. Like he's done a ton of comedies and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I always remember him from Con Air, and I'm just like, dude, this guy is creepy as fuck.
Yeah, I think he's a great actor. So I picked him for Lloyd.
Okay.
But yeah, he does kind of have the same look as the previous Lloyd from the original, which again we're pretending it doesn't exist, but there is that. So next up for Chase's here is actually funny that Mike mentioned because he has Woody Harrelson as Delbert Grady.
Oh, okay.
So Grady, obviously the previous caretaker, who corrected his family. So Woody Harrelson seems like a charming, cool dude who just happens to look sinister with a mischievous grin that hides a cunning mind. It's a quality the actor has leaned into over time, or a time or two throughout his career, most notably in Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers in 1994, and as recent as 2021's Venom, Let There Be Carnage, where he plays a Red Rage symbiote. Delbert Grady was a prior caretaker for the Overlook, who murdered, suicided himself and his family in the hotel hallways. His twin daughters have become the iconic image of the 80s film. Grady is a hotel psychic manifestation to move Jack around the board, prompting and pushing him to a more controllable state. And then he says Harrelson would revel in a small but memorable role. Could you imagine when confronted by Jack about the past as the former caretaker, the murder of his wife and children, Harrelson cocking his head with that signature grin and uttering a phrase in his smooth, near whisper Texan drawl? I corrected them, sir. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that is a great pick. So it's a good one for Mike too, to put him as Lloyd, because I think Woody Harrelson's just a great actor.
Yeah.
Again, No Country for Old Men, he plays a great role in that. So one of my favorite turns is actually with him and Stephen Root, because Stephen Root is asking Woody Harrelson about Anton Chigurh, and he's like, well, how dangerous is he? And he's like, and Woody Harrelson's character's response is, compared to what? The bubonic plague? And that's just, that one line's always stuck with me, because it's just like, it adds sinister to Anton Chigurh, but it's just, I love that, because it's so like, oh, let's compare him to like a freaking thing that killed half the world.
He's in True Detective, right?
Yeah, first season.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think of with him, with being like sinister and stuff like that, because he's kind of a prick in that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
He actually wouldn't make a bad Omen either.
Yeah. And then, Mike said what he said earlier. Jason Statham is Charles Grady. And I could see that too. Yeah, definitely. You could see him being kind of that guy, like the one that would have killed his family and stuff. You could totally see that.
I corrected them, sir.
Yeah. And he says, or Delbert for the book. I guess Charles Grady. Yeah, because there's two different names depending on book or movie.
Yeah.
So, whose turn is it on?
Your turn.
Grady for going first here.
Yeah.
So for me, Delbert Grady, I went John Turturro. Maybe I'm thinking too much about the Coen brothers right now, but John Turturro is...
He was in the Batman.
He's done some comedic roles, but he's done some serious roles that are just absolutely fucking incredible.
Oh, he was great in the Batman.
He did the Batman,
Falcone.
the Night Of on HBO. He did an incredible job there. He's just an actor that he's very muted, but he also kind of can slip into that thing where he just feels like crazy a little bit. And I could see that with Grady, like being very buttoned up until Jack starts to press his buttons a bit, and then he kind of slides into like kind of a little bit of the, I don't know, more Grady-ish elements, like killer stuff. Cody says Mark Hamill.
Oh shit! Mark would be phenomenal.
That's a pretty great pick. Yeah,
that is a good one. Is John? I'm trying to remember if John is he in Secret Window. Is he who I'm thinking of in Secret Window, guys?
I'm not sure.
Yep, John Shooter in Secret Window. So King alumni.
Oh, okay.
He plays the fractured part of the writer's mind, and he is very sinister in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would be a good one.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm just Coen brothers have been in my mind for a lot of these, but yeah, John Turturro's amazing. Love him.
I actually watched Secret Window.
Okay.
I watched it before I realized I didn't even know it was Stephen King stuff until we started doing the show.
Yeah.
And then you're like, Secret Window, and I'm like, the movie with Johnny Depp? And you're like, yeah, it's a short story by Stephen King. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I've seen that movie.
Yeah. And then the last one that he has, but then we might have,
I didn't do my green.
Oh, go ahead. See, 'cause you're supposed to go first.
Yeah.
That's why.
So do we just want to do that in the future?
We're almost done now. Yeah,
Okay.
probably in the future. Yeah. It's easier to.
That way you don't get all mixed up. And
Exactly.
confused. It's okay, Ted. We'll get you through this. It's all right. For me, I have one that he said earlier. I think Sebastian Stan would be an amazing Grady.
Okay.
I just picture him in the bathroom with like the towel and just like, I corrected them, sir.
Yeah.
He has like the brainwashed from Winter Soldier, but also like he still looks like a kind of like a normal dude. I'm picturing him and Zac Efron face to face talking.
Yeah.
As they're both insane. And I think they both can play an insane person really well. And then my honorable mention, and Ooh, this one was hard not to put him as Jack as well, but I like him better as Grady. Michael B. Jordan.
Okay, dude, I almost did Michael B. Jordan as Jack.
Yeah.
I was so close, man.
He is so talented.
Yeah,
He is so damn
it,
talented.
literally, it was by a hair for me, Oscar Isaac. And it's just because, again, I was just talking about him not too long ago at work, where I'm just like, Oscar Isaac, I don't think he's ever done a bad role. Like, he's had some bad movies. He had some times where, like, he hasn't had the best writing. But I feel like he's always taken every ounce out of what he could do and given everything. And I love him. And so, yeah, as much as I love Michael B. Jordan, I went Oscar Isaac. But he was like, if I did honorable mentions, you're right. Michael B. Jordan would probably be my freaking, like,
Yeah.
ask me tomorrow and it may have been Michael B. Jordan type thing for me. Like, I'm not even, it's that close. They're neck and neck for me for Jack. So
It just happens that this day.
yeah, exactly. This day it was Oscar Isaac. If we had done this a month from now, it may have easily been Michael B. Jordan instead.
You go back and watch Creed or
The Wire
Black
when
Panther
he
or
was a
The
kid.
Wire.
Yeah.
And just like be like, nope, yeah, it's Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah. So Chase has one more. It's kind of an obscure part of the book. And then after that, Peter and I, if we have any extras that we'll have, we'll play those afterwards. Mm-hmm. But he has Larry Durkin, and he has casted Stephen King. And then in his description, he'll explain.
I don't remember who Larry Durkin is.
It says, all the best King adaptations have a cameo by the King, which I love. He calls him the King. That's great. You got to find a spot for the writer himself, and what better minor role than the owner of the Snowcat rental shop, Larry Durkin.
Okay.
The character's only in one scene, hands off the keys to Dick Halloran on the last leg of the rescue mission. It would give the writer just enough screen time to excite fans before the acting chops frighten the fans. Oh, that's brutal. It would also be a neat nod to have the creator of these stories, of these characters, play a hand in helping save them. Which, that's cool. And I thought about trying to find something for King, but like, I don't know. Like,
I'd have King be like a guest that's checking out. Like as the Torrance family's getting their tour, I'd have King being the one that's checking out, and because we have it in the book where it's like, why does she want to get in the bellboy's pants? Wouldn't it be too big for her?
Yeah.
But have it be King where he's thinking something else and shift it there. That's what I would do with King. That's where I'd put my King cameo. That or just make him someone at the ball.
Make him like the park ranger that they radio or something.
Or he's just someone at the ball who we've missed you, Jack.
Yeah.
You know, something like that. Just a quick line or something.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, Agamorphy. Larry who? Oh. Yeah, that's what I said. I didn't know who Larry was.
And then Mike says King could be the bellhop.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that they want to get the pants off.
I want to get in his pants.
Oh, man. So I don't have a Larry Durkin.
I don't have, just let you know, I don't have any others.
Any others? I have one. I have Miss Massey.
Oh, really? I figured they would just be covered in makeup. So,
and I'm being a little cheeky with this one. Vera Farmiga, she's the one from the Conjuring movies, Game of Thrones. She's the witch. Maybe I'm saying her name wrong. Farmiga,
the red woman.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Primarily because in Game of Thrones, she literally takes the necklace off and then becomes an old weathered.
Yeah.
So I'm being slightly cheeky because we basically already seen her tribute the horrible Room 217 lady.
Cody, that's brilliant. He said the King cameo is like why is that man thinking about clowns in the sewers? That's great. Dude, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, just make him a writer checking out. You know.
Yeah. Agamorphy, yes, Peter. An annoying guest leaving the hotel, perfect for King, leaving from room 1408. But I didn't order. I didn't order room service to my room.
No, what I would
in 1409, aren't you? Saying, no, I'm in 1408.
No, I'd have him checking out at 217 being like, or but sir, you're supposed to be here for another. Like maybe it's when the interview, so it's not closing time yet. It's like you're here for another week. I don't care. All the things I've been seeing, I'm getting out of here. Because
dude, that'd be great foreshadowing.
Because and also King like that, he was inspired to write. I don't know. That's getting into like Dark Tower territory of potentially the fact that at that point he's actually King.
Mike says Tilda Swinton as Mrs. Macy. Her eyes in that makeup would scare kids for decades.
Oh yeah.
That's the ancient one in Doctor Strange, right?
Yeah. So that's all I've got extra. But yeah, future bound. We're not going to have articles to go along with this. But what we'll do is, and I don't know, do we want to like prompt these just whatever? Or do we want to give any kind of like?
I don't know. Leave it up to the fans. We'll see what we hear back from them. the extended quartet. Do you want us to let you know so you can join in, or do you just want to
join into the chat and just kind of roll with
then
the punches?
The thing also is that if you like this in the podcast side and you're not listening live, and you want to send in an email and be like, "Hey, so I heard your thing on The Shining. Here's what I would do." We'll read it. Absolutely.
Yeah,
We'll revisit this. That's great.
Send in your stuff. But yeah, if Future Bound, I want to do this for kind of be our new Dreamcasting section.
Yeah.
Is we're going to pick a movie, pretend that adaptation's never been made before, and we're going to cast it for the first time right
There's
now.
also ones that have never been
that have
made.
never been true.
So
exactly. So I think that's kind of fun.
Mike says this was fun. Definitely do it again. So
yeah. Hopefully everyone enjoyed. I thought it was fun. I'm intrigued
the
by
nice
it.
thing was
I do
that
think
it
the
didn't
article
take long.
No, exactly. I think the article does hinder us a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I enjoy what he's doing. But I do think Future Bound, like
It's going to be real easy. You just the week of his show, you're going to throw it out to me and be like, "Hey, so this week we're doing it. Go.
yeah.
Don't worry about the kids, but the adults. Go."
Yeah, and that's the thing is I thought about Dark Tower wise. I feel like the last decade I've done so many Dreamcasting, not just on the show but just on the internet and stuff.
Yeah.
That almost feel almost tired of Dreamcasting the Dark Tower. But what I'm thinking for Dark Tower, what we should do is not do the whole series, but go book by book.
There you go.
You know, it's like, okay, we're doing Gunslinger.
Let's cast Gunslinger.
And then cast Gunslinger.
There you
Because then we actually get into it more. Because it's like, are you actually going to cast Brown or Sylvia Pittston if we do the whole series? No. But if we did just Gunslinger,
You would.
You have to cast
Yeah.
those guys.
Agamorphe says he's got to go and says good night. Thanks for joining us, Agamorphe.
See you, Agamorphe. That's what we're gonna do in the future. Let's let Future Bound. We'll figure out how we're gonna do it in terms of if we just want to spring it on people that are in the live chat, or if we want to give you guys an advance notice of some kind. But that is the new Dreamcasting that we're gonna do. So now we've got the Palaver section.
Oh, I thought that was the Palaver.
No, that was our Dreamcasting section. I mean, it's longer because we had the article. But on the Palaver section, this is one I bumped from last week. If you could cross the Dark Tower over with one non-Dark Tower related King book, which book would it be, and how would you envision it panning out? Kind of thought about it because we talked not long ago about how as the Dark Tower was unfolding, I 100% expected some way for it to cross over with The Shining. And again, not that I want to continue to make The Shining a big part of this episode, but I'm not even saying that's my answer, but that's kind of what inspired the question. Where it's like whether it was while you're reading it you wanted it to or expected it to, or even just now where you just as you're thinking about it, where did the Dark Tower not cross over that you thought would have been really cool to see it cross over, and how would you envision that type thing? Because again, I think the Shining is just for me. Maybe it's more of just because of how big the Shining is in King's universe. It just felt like it would be somehow pulled in, somehow referenced, somehow whatever. Beyond the fact that the Shining and the Touch are essentially the same thing.
Mike says Nosferatu. There are other worlds than these.
Yeah, which is true, and that's
yeah.
And that's definitely Mr. Joe Hill versus Stephen King, but yes, sometimes those lines
it's
get
in
hard.
The same family, it counts.
And if
I'm sorry, everything that Hill and Owen do are part of the King universe.
Dude, what if just out of nowhere in the next couple years a Dark Tower book came out, but it was written by Joe Hill?
That's it.
Can you imagine? And then King has a forward, and he's just like, yeah. This is Joe's now.
Yeah.
Type thing. I've never thought about that, but it's like, can you imagine?
So happy.
Because that would be crazy. But
Cody nailed it. I think anything with Holly Gibney, Dark Tower needs Holly.
Oh yeah.
I think with The Outsider and then with If It Bleeds, absolutely one of those creatures belong in the Dark Tower universe. And Holly needs to cross paths with the quartet.
Here's the thing. You don't even need to connect an actual book to say Holly. Holly's so big. She's her own thing. Mm-hmm. She's beyond any book. She's bigger than any one book. Honestly, the way I could see her playing out is the walk-ins. She's there investigating the walk-ins.
Exactly.
And so then she comes across Roland there you go. And it's not that I want to bump any of those great characters that we get. Irene, John Collum, there's some good characters that we find, and I wouldn't necessarily want to see Holly remove them in any way, but it's imagine if Holly was somehow
working for the Tech Corporation.
Yeah,
they hired her to do investigating and stuff like that, and she's the one that figured out where they were going to be, and there's a crew there ready to rescue them from the ambush at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Not necessarily stop it. They can't come, that, but they have a team stationed nearby so that when it happens, they come in and they retrieve Roland and Eddie and get them out of there.
Yeah. What if you played it even worse? What if she doesn't know and she is just the investigator? And what if she was hired to find Calvin Tower?
God, yeah.
And she doesn't know what she's
Yeah.
what she's doing, essentially.
Or she's just investigating something for against the Sombra Corporation. Just happens to come across, like the walk-ins and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mike says she's investigating North Central
Exactly.
Positronics. Yeah.
Mike, you psychic bitch. I know you. Sorry, that's a line from a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, Robin
Williams.
Not a stand-up comedian. It's Robin Williams,
It's
for God's
a
sake.
stand-up. He's doing stand-up comedy when he says it. But Mike, you psychic. Yeah, you and me on the same wavelength right there.
That wasn't even from the movie.
That's from one of his.
So in the 2001
build-ups
in 2001, he had the Live on Broadway movie or the video, but then there was also the
2002.
There was also the CD.
Yeah.
And the CD was actually a different recording, and I think it was
Yeah.
the CD one that had that, because he starts a joke and someone in the audience laughs.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just said it's a line that me and Tad say to
We've
each
been
other
saying
all
it
the
f-
time. I'm
yeah,
so sorry,
we've been saying
Mike.
it for
I'm not
20
calling you
years.
a bitch. It's a line because literally, yeah, Tad's right. Robin literally starts. He's like, so one day I was, and this woman just, and he's like, you psychic bitch, I know you. He's like, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
So
it's-
I
but-
apologize, Mike. I wasn't meaning any offense.
I think that'd be really interesting if she didn't know that she was working for the bad guys.
Exactly.
And she's the one that sussed out Tower, and the reason that everyone's there to get him, and they're right on his tail is because she found him. That would be interesting. And then maybe from there she breaks off and is able to help the quartet in some way or whatever. But yeah, Holly that's a hard answer to beat.
That's how do you beat that?
That's a hard one to beat, man. She's so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think again, The Shining, but I don't know how The Shining would really cross over necessarily. We saw The Stand.
You wouldn't do The Shining. You do Dr. Sleep with the True Knot.
The True Knot.
You would have what I would do with.
What about Abra?
What I would do with the True Knot is that I wouldn't even have Abra or Danny meet the quartet. I'd have those ones that cut and run from the True Knot. Because I just re-listened to Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
There's some from the True Knot who cut and run when it gets bad, and all the kidnappers that go with Crow Daddy to get Abra die, they cut and run and they take off. I would have them run into the quartet and get gunned down. Have them imagine Eddie, Jake, and Susanna, the reaction to them cycling.
Yeah.
That's what I would do if you're gonna do something with The Shining related.
Yeah,
that's
do
what I
that.
would do.
Yeah.
Have them have a run in with the True Knot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The only other way you could even do it would be that if King, if in some way one of the times they encounter King, he's in Colorado. Because there's times in King's life he was very Colorado based for a bit.
That's why the Stanley Hotel's The Shining is that he's there writing it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's almost the only way you could probably do it in any, except for what you're talking about. If you wanted to actually get the fucking Overlook Hotel and Roland to lay eyes on it, and maybe Roland even senses where he's just that place is a place of evil. Because Roland's from a place that it's not abnormal, right?
Yeah.
Roland knows, and so he would sense it. He'd just like, nope,
we're not going there.
Yeah, not going there. That's not going to happen.
He'd be like, it would take Jake from us or something like that because Jake's got the shine.
Yeah, exactly.
Mike says the kid from a Buick 8 works with Holly to investigate the walk-ins because that's what a Buick 8's about, is kind of walk-in stuff. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I think Holly's probably the winner there.
How do you pass that up?
Yeah, because there's not much I love more than Holly in the King universe. So except for the next one we're talking about here is Brandel Flagg, of course.
Yeah, boo.
So
the guy on screen there.
Isn't it wonderful?
No, it's not.
It's great. So Flagg, we've debated countless times the goodness or badness of Randall
He's
Flagg.
a bad guy.
So we debated it. We've even had a whole episode, the Flag Summit. But I have a new what would you call it? A piece of evidence to enter into the exhibit.
The case is closed. There's no appeals.
So
get out of here.
Right here, Flag debate point. Let me take a line straight from the gunslinger here. A couple lines. The boy looked at him ominously. Spooks of him coming back. Just he's listing. Roland asked him why were you afraid at the way station, and Roland, the man in black, the gunslinger, said, not a question. Yes. Is he a bad man? And then Roland answers, I guess that depends on where you're standing, the gunslinger said absently, and then got up, pitched a cigarette into the hard pan. I'm going to sleep. So even Roland there, the ultimate enemy of Flag, is saying it depends on where you stand. And where I stand, Flag is the hero of the story.
He's not the hero of the story.
Well,
Get out
of the stand certainly, but
No.
Dark Tower, yeah. But I'm reading through everything and more book wise versus audiobook, and that's one that jumped out at me.
You had your hard copy here.
Where I was just like, holy shit! Like I've overlooked that almost probably every time I've read it, especially in the time that we've been doing this show, because you've been trying to pass this slander that Flag's bad.
It's not slander, sir. Even Stephen King admits that he's a bad guy. The guy who created the character says he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy.
The ultimate enemy of Flag to then say it depends on where you stand. I think that's some good
that just
evidence.
Means that he's confused, or he's hoodwinked by the Man in Black with his magic. Stephen King, the master of the universe, God in this universe, has said he's a bad guy. You're not trumping that with some one line here by Roland.
Yeah, Roland.
Let's go find all the other things that Roland says about Flag and compare them.
Oh, so I had to bring that up because how could I not? When I find that line, dude, it stopped me in my tracks. Like, I took a picture of the page. I'm like, I got to get this. And I'm like,
Hashtag Tad is terrible. Get out of here with that.
Oh, man. Let's see. Mike says, to quote Station 11 to the monsters, we're the monsters. Oh, so let's go ahead and
emails. It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
That's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it! What is it, like 6 years later, and I still have to hear that?
Yeah. Oh, and it will be until the end of this show, whenever that might be. We'll be having that around. Maybe we'll get some kind of musical remix or something.
Alan. No.
So we have Joe from Washington State has a very short email, and the title of the email was for Peter.
Oh no.
And it was a picture, and let's go ahead and throw it up on the screen here.
No,
it's a jolly chimp, as what I've learned is they're called. Is not Symbol Monkey. They're called jolly chimps.
They're symbol monkeys.
And then he says in his text, the only thing he said is ... see you in your dreams. And then he signs off Joe from Washington State, and then he says hashtag don't blame me, I voted for Flag, which I love because not only is it supporting Flag, but it's a Simpsons reference. Joe knows my fucking brand. Right on brand. Oh, man.
That's terrible. Can we block him from sending pictures? He can still email, just not pictures.
So just so everyone on the show now knows as well, I've done a lot of research. There still is a company in Japan, one of the original companies that made it's called a Jolly Chimp is the name of the toy.
If anyone's listening to the audio podcast that doesn't know what we're talking about, it's the chimp from Toy Story 4 that watches the security cameras.
Or the monkey from the Stephen King short story.
Yeah.
So there is a company in Japan. They still make these today. Unfortunately, there is no imported ones.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Mike?
When I go to the Shining Hotel, Tad, pay for them to put that in Peter's room before he checks in.
If that happens, I'm leaving. I'm not staying. I'm not going there anyways, so we're good.
Here's the thing: is what do I have him do? Put it on your bed where you find it, or do I have it set to some kind of timer and it's under your bed? So then in the middle of the night, you just
stop. You just stop. You.
So yeah, that's so yes, there is a new company, and I may or may not have acquired.
If it's in this room, I am not coming over to record. We're going to do it remotely from now on. I'm not kidding. I'm not being in a room with one of those damn monkeys.
Oh, let's see. Autographs guy says in the closet.
That's my wife. How dare you?
Yeah, in the closet of the hotel. That would be a good place as well. Yeah. So so I may I may or may not have bought one of these Jolly Chimps, but it does have to be shipped from Japan, and it will take some time.
It's the second time you've ordered one too. The other one got canceled because it didn't get shipped.
Yeah, I ordered another one some time ago. So, but yes. Jolly Chimp, and thank you, Joe, for sending the email. Love both the email, love the fact that it is this picture, love that it's for Peter, and I love your hashtag, don't blame me, I voted for Flag. In fact, that might be a good t-shirt. don't blame me. I voted for flag. That'd be wonderful.
Get out of here.
So that's just the only email we got. So thank you, Joe, for that. But that will wrap it for this episode. What a great way to end
What
it
a
too.
Horrible way to
Great
end
way
this
to end it with
episode.
the
Oh my gosh.
with the Jolly Chimp. And of course, I've been talking a little bit about this at work. And the Jolly Chimp, though, that story, the monkey from King, needs to be a
Needs
fucking
to be.
movie, dude.
Should that
It
be
is-
that should be one of our dream castings.
It is such a great fucking story. The whole premise, if anyone hasn't read it yet, is someone has one of these, but it's cursed. And anytime the cymbals clang, someone dies.
Someone they know dies.
So yeah, and then like they try to like get rid of it, but it always like returns. Like it's
Like they
it's like
throw it away and it shows back up in the
but
house.
doesn't he like weigh it down and throw it in a lake or
Yep.
something, and it still ends up back in his
and the
attic?
thing is that it's almost
So-
like it's vindictive that after you do that to it is then when it clangs the cymbals.
Yeah.
So it seems like the monkey is evil because it's like, fucker, try to get rid of me. Bam! Someone's dead.
Yeah,
Fucker.
yeah. So yeah, we'll stick with us. Don't touch that dial.
I'm telling
as
you,
they
Tad,
say.
if you have one in this room, I am going to get up and walk out.
Again, what if I bought 2 and gave one to your daughter? That's all I'm saying.
Don't say that. My wife is listening. She'll do it.
Your daughter might enjoy that toy. So let's go ahead and hit the outro stuff while Peter's in anguish here. So first of all, if you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on any podcast service. You can stream us on Spotify or Stitcher. Check out the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com. In this episode, all the stuff we covered will be there, as well as like those couple lists that we covered that I didn't cover the whole list because I only hit the Stephen King stuff. If you want to read those full lists, if you're a horror fan, I highly recommend it. Find it over at the show notes, darktowerpalaver.com. Join us on Patreon at patreon.com if you want to support the show it's patreon.com/darktowerpalaver. And then if you want to contact us, you can do that in a number of ways that Peter can let you know as he thinks about a Jolly Chimp being in this room with us.
The best way to reach us is like email darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Stream all of our shows live.
Oh,
It's
real quick, in terms of emails, just like Joe here.
right, yeah.
Another thing, if you wanted to send outside of Jolly Chimps, if you have any beasts that you want to send,
Tad.
Peter loves beasts
Tad.
too. So just throwing that out there as a possibility. If you guys all have fun beast things,
You know
So,
what?
But go
That's it. I'm gonna move. that way you can't do this to me anymore. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to like Montana. And go get
There's
me
beasts up. That's where grizzly bear. You're moving deeper into grizzly country, going up there.
I can stand real beasts. It's the fictitious werewolves and
and the
man-eating
chupacabra down in
lions.
Texas that we saw the picture of.
That was creepy as fuck. Oh my god.
But sorry, interrupting your reading the outro stuff. But I had to at least mention Peter doesn't like beasts. So if you want to send
Stop
like
it.
the monkey from Creepshow, that's a great.
Ugh, God.
That's a great one.
Ugh. Stop it. I have to drive home by myself after this, you jerk.
It's not dark.
Doesn't matter. Beasts come out during the day too.
Mike's saying to take
Speaking-
video.
Speaking of which, did you see that we had a beast
Yeah.
over by my house? Freaking mountain lion in the neighborhood. What the hell?
Yeah, there was a mountain lion and like freaking very
Less
very
than
suburban.
a mile from my home.
See, usually when I see a cougar, I expect it to be like down
Like
in Draper.
up by the mountains and stuff like that. I don't live that close to the mountains.
I always think they're down in Draper driving big SUVs and drinking $9 lattes, but that's usually my experience with cougars in this area. But
You got,
yeah,
got some experience with cougars, eh, Tad? Yeah.
very close to you, indeed. That.
No, not a fan.
But yeah, go ahead with the outro. I know I'm tormenting you, so
I've
it's
lost my. I can't do it, Tad. Just
Yes.
end the show. I'm in so much pain right now, jerk.
I did also see your wife saying that she would help with the
I know!
Jolly Chimp caper is what
And
I'll
there
call
she
it.
says Mike says take a video, and then she mentions the cougar. Yeah,
Yep. So let's go ahead and close out your intro
I
or
don't-
your outro stuff.
Where
there.
did I get? I lost.
You
my
did
spot.
email,
Okay.
but beyond-
Stream our shows live here on YouTube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. Like the video, subscribe, ring the bell, so you know when we're going live and Tad can torture me again. You can post pictures on Facebook.com/DarkTowerPalaver to torture me. You can put them on Twitter at DarkTowerPod. That's at DarkTowerPod. Our Instagram is DarkTowerPalaver, all one word, no spaces. And then you can check out our merchandise. It's tpublic.com/user/DarkTowerPalaver.
Yeah, indeed. So
Hashtag Tad is terrible. You take the damn monkey off the screen. God, it's still there.
That's the best part about the emails. It stays on the screen while we're doing the outro stuff. So, but yeah, that is it for this episode. We're back on our normal schedule here. So we'll be back in a fortnight for Roundtable 124. As I mentioned before, our Modern King adaptation rankings will be covered in that episode. If you want to send yours in, email those in. Basically, what we're doing is anything that's this century. So anything from the year 2000 on is considered modern. If you want to rank them, you don't have to rank them all either. If there's some you haven't seen, just leave them off. Maybe categorize them down to the bottom of like ones I haven't seen, so I'm not going to rank, because I know both of us have some that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you have to like rank every single thing, but go ahead and check out the website. I'll make sure to upload that in our open challenges, and yeah, we'll have that conversation, and then 2 weeks after that, we have on the 30th, we'll have one more episode this month because of the way the month falls. We'll have Book Club of the Wastelands Part 17. So that is what's coming up.
Chris says Peter sounded so sad in the outro, and then he does a laughing emoji like he's crying.
You do sound like defeated.
I do not want to do this show with a monkey. I hate that monkey so much.
Oh man, and see what I was thinking too at work one day, because we work together and you're not far from me. If it did come, what if you were just at work one day and then you started hearing the cymbals clang in my office?
I'd leave. I'm just gonna leave.
You wouldn't come in to investigate?
Nope. That's how bad things happen. Well, I'm going to go investigate that strange noise. I've watched horror movies that ended that way.
All right, so yeah, that's what we have coming up. So 2 more episodes this month. Looking forward to it. And yeah, we'll sign off as we always do by saying long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Oh, all right. Thank you guys in the chat. You guys are awesome.
I hate you so much.
We're now all just on the YouTube side here. Yeah, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for being with us, joining us in the conversation, helping to torment Peter. It's all part of the package deal for the show on the live streams here. So the best part is I actually almost forgot that Joe sent that email, and it was literally like, I think you were in the room. I was here, and I was like, oh wait, there may have been an email. So I opened the email just to double check, just in case I was forgetting, and I saw his email. I'm like, oh yes. So I was like, I actually was putting this into the slideshow stuff while you were sitting right there prepping your computer. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Glad to have you part of the conversation across the board, whether it's talking about the actual conversations, our new Dreamcasting thing, or tormenting Peter with Jolly Chimps or Beasts, as well as the movie Beast coming August 19th in theaters, which will be their opening night. So, yeah, you and I, opening night. Maybe with Hayden, too. We could bring him so you could at least have the...
Thanks, Mike.
I'll send you some Xanax to you, Peter, with the monkey. Oh, man. At least from Peter's perspective, this show may have gone off the rails a little bit here toward the end. But I, as a Flag fan and a fan of the chaos, I love it. And I relish every bit of it. So you guys are awesome. Thank you guys for being part of it. We'll be back in a fortnight for Roundtable 124. We'll sign off as we always do by saying thank you guys for joining us, and long days and pleasant nights.
Bye.